Hello, everybody. Welcome to the stream. How's everybody on this Sunday evening? How's everyone doing? Well, thank you for joining me tonight. Got a pretty busy night tonight, pretty packed tonight. We've got obviously the market news that we'll touch over. Hey, come on, man. It's bang on 8. What's going on? That's what we love. Easy, Lewis. How we doing, Adam? Everyone, welcome. So obviously we'll do what we normally do, touch on the news for the week of the before and the week ahead. And then obviously about 20 past 8, so in about 20 minutes, M5 will be joining us doing some TA, and he'll be touching on a lot of things that he does on his side. So welcome, everybody. So first things first, then let's lock in. So everyone started to roll in. Appreciate everybody joining me on this Sunday evening. It's my phone telling me that I'm live. Just make sure the audio and everything's good for everybody. First things first, so the fear and greed. So sitting in extreme fear as of Friday, 13. So it was a little lower than that, but we have rose a little bit, which is good. That's good to see. That was on the crypto side anyway. And then on the stock market was 11, up 5. Fresh trim. Hey, to be fair, I ain't going to lie. I got my haircut yesterday, but I'm growing the top out. That's why I'll push it to one side. I'm going to try a perm. So yeah, we're going to go for a perm, I think, in a few months. We'll see how that one rolls out there. I'm in my Chris Williams element. How are we, Joe? How are we, Jord? Everyone all right with the audio? The audio all good tonight, because now we had a bit of problems last week, didn't we? So anyway, yep, stock market, extreme fear. So obviously at the moment, how are we, Will? Evening, pal. So at the minute we're a bit all over the shop. Obviously, when we finished off on the futures last week, it was down for the week for the S&P 500. But sometimes it's important we zoom out on it. I think that's the one that's important. I mean, year to date, the S&P 500 is still up 12.39%, still up 10.43% for the 1 year, and then the 3 year, it's still massively up. So, how are we, pal? Welcome to the stream. So, yeah, again, it's a bit of a bad week last week, but I think you have to take the good with the bad. So, seen some interesting stuff. So, we'll share some stuff. Interest rates. So, obviously, these have been moving a little bit. We're back up to 69.4%. I believe that's higher than where it was last week. So that'll be interesting. I think it's a bit up in the air at the moment with the Fed. You've got a lot of speakers saying they're optimistic for it and a lot saying that they're not. So it'll be very interesting to see what happens in the December rate cut. I even seen some things on X today about raising rates. So that'll be very interesting. So when we're been looking at the S&P 500 a lot over the weekend, been looking at some stuff. So when you look at some of the down years, 2022 was the last down year, 2018, the last couple of years, the S&P has just been absolutely soaring. So, optimistic. I'm still thinking that we're going to be very bullish going forward. I know a lot of people have got different opinions on it, even in Dylan. So it'd be interesting to see where we are. I think a lot of people are saying we've had corrections and crashes. I think we're far off a crash and a correction, especially when you start looking at the S&P 500 and you're still up for the year. We ain't 20% down yet. So definitely want to keep an eye on for sure. What's everybody's views this week? So I have pushed out a poll. It looks like 67%, 69%. Oh, it keeps rising. People are up and down on this vote. I don't know, a bit undecided. Where are we up to? 32% think we're going to be down on the market ahead. 68% think we're going to be up. I personally think we're going to be up. A lot of tech stocks in the S&P aren't even that high on PE. I think they're way too much fear in the market. Yeah, I think we haven't seen this much fear since April, but a lot of people are comparing this to April, but this is nothing like April. AMD was at 70, Palantir was at 79. This is nothing compared to April. In April, we had the whole world was being tariffed. At the moment, we've just got a lot of uncertainty, which obviously causes fear. I think there's a lot of panic money in the market at the moment. So it's quick in and quick out. And I think like when we look back at this and we start looking at this, and it's people we start looking at the small caps. So for the month, we're down nearly 6% on the Russell 2000, but year to date, we're still up by 6.18%. And I think obviously when we started seeing a lot of rate cuts in, obviously people start getting bullish on small caps. So how are we, mate? Google was yeah, and Google. Do you know what? I didn't actually. This is one of those things where you have to kick yourself a little. I didn't pay that much attention to Google. even when it was at 165 and stuff like that. But I've started doing more digging on it recently, especially when I did due diligence last week. And to see the fact that I believe it's the only like company, one of the only companies up there that don't use Nvidia for their tech, sort of makes people say that they're sort of bursting Nvidia's bubble, so to speak. But again, everyone's commenting on the trim differences. Right, so I'm going to say this once more. I've actually normally my hair's like this; it's normally down. I've pushed it aside because it's long. We're going for a perm in a couple of months. We're going to try something different. Me and my Chris Williams area. That's all he said. So yeah, so like I say, most active stocks as of Friday. So let's zoom in a little bit. Got Nvidia really up there, obviously. 346 million shares traded on Friday. Obviously, easy, big up from Toronto. Appreciate you tuning in. Thank you very much, mate. So when you start looking at this, and it's impressive to see Ondas down there as well at 130 million. As you can see, it was highlighted. I was looking at it earlier. It's really impressive to see that. But we're still seeing some unfamiliar names that are up here. I mean, Open's still getting a lot of attention, still sitting at 160 mil volume. Good evening to me. Thank you for joining. So we're still seeing some unprecedented volume from all these caps. I mean, BBAI is still down here, nearly matching up with Tesla. Do you know what I mean? So the small caps are still getting some love. So that's good to see. I see BYND down here. I mean, this stock's been absolutely destroyed, hasn't it? So, aside from also, do you look at other small caps and iBeta index or ETFs? Nah, if I'm honest, mate, I don't. I'll try and stick to the small caps and stuff that I'm in, and obviously I'll follow them. I try not to follow the trackers and make that decide me, because obviously Ondas is just bridging into that medium-sized cap now. So again, I try not to focus too much on that, but I do obviously track the S&P 500. Meta, Google, Amazon aren't bad value. Apple is quite expensive though. Yeah, so obviously Apple been bringing out a lot of stuff recently as well. But evening, Rob, you've got on a little bit earlier this time, instead of being halfway through. So on top of that, let's start looking at some of the other stuff that I pulled up. Seen a lot of stuff over Twitter over the weekend and stuff like that. So let me pull this up real quick. So one of the big Spurs talked about things at the minute that a lot of people are watching is Bitcoin. So it did drop to as low as 80,000 of Bitcoin. We're now looking at back up to 87. So that's good to see. I think Friday at one point was at nearly 80,000, which is really, really low. I'm interested to find, is anybody actually buying Bitcoin at the moment, or is anybody buying any crypto ETFs that are tracking this type of stuff? But on top of that, when we start looking at it like this way, Bitcoin is down as of Friday when it was at 80K at 36. It's still not a huge decline to some of the movements that we've seen in April. And I mean, obviously it's risen a bit back now, but you're seeing the same type of declines as earlier. I mean, there's been bigger declines before. So is this something that we need to be really worried about, or is this sort of like a pullback where people are loading up? Pretty sure I seen another post about JP Morgan, etc., loading into this too. So interesting for sure. I like to look at this every week. So Charlie posts this. I don't know how to say his second name, but I am subscribed to his stuff. I think he's absolutely ace with the stuff that he posts here. Gold still absolutely smashing it this week up into the asset class. You've got the emerging market stocks still killing it, 21%. So again, it's massive that the emerging market's been doing top stuff like this, which we'll touch on in a minute as well. NASDAQ 100 next. You've got the US growth, large caps. So obviously SPY still up massively. And again, you've still got a lot of this, but Bitcoin is actually one of the worst holding assets to have of this year, down 8.9%, which is pretty criminal to say, isn't it, really? So Dylan, I prefer stocks at the moment. I have crypto. Yeah, me too. I've got a bit of crypto, but I'm more of a stocks man myself. I know there's a lot of guys that are tracking this in the Discord. Obviously, if anybody is interested in the Discord as well, I'm going to push it too much in the stream, but it is there in the bottom left corner. All of this type of information is in there every day. Our UK retail, not talking cryptocurrency over there. Yeah, so I mean, a few people do. I mean, a lot of the people in our Discord are very mainly UK based, but not a lot of people talk about crypto more than they do stocks. But again, not a lot of people talk about stocks as well. So it's a little bit different in the UK to the US. The UK one has no option chain. So yeah, let's move on to the next one. So yeah, always look at this weekly. It's nice to see how the asset classes are moving. Gold's still absolutely steaming ahead this month. So one of the things that I did see that historically, when the volatility, the VIX jumps above 28.7 points, the S&P 500 has delivered strong returns over the following 12 months. At VIX levels of 28.7 to 33.5, the index return plus 16% on average over the next year, 91 and 22. When the VIX exceeds 33.5, the average 12-month return was as much as 27%. By comparison, when VIX traded between 11.3 to 12, the S&P 500 returned 15% over the following year. So from statistically, the higher the VIX that we've had in previous sessions of years means the higher the rate of the S&P 500 returned, because elevated VIX levels has historically created buying opportunities. So naturally, when there's fear in the market, people buy, and obviously when there's greed in the market, people sell. That is a typical thing. I feel like you can't miss stocks as crypto from the US, whereas UK. Yeah, exactly. Ben posted it when he went over to the US and he traveled for a little bit. Every hotel he went, everywhere he went, you had the obviously the stocks and shares and stuff in the market on TV. It's not pushed at all like that in the UK. And obviously, me and Carles, I was talking about this, and James Kerner, etc. When we've done the interviews, it's crazy how it's not. And I believe I read something the other day, someone posted in the Discord, that coming into the next few years towards 28, they are going to start putting some type of basic about financials, etc. into schools. Don't know how true that was, but I'm pretty sure I've seen something on that. This one I'm not sure about. I'm not sure. Can the UK not trade NASDAQ options in USD like in Canada? It's possible. Again, I haven't looked at that on the options, so I'm not 100% sure about that. Maybe someone can answer that in the chat. I'm not 100% sure. So yeah, that was interesting to see. Obviously, at the moment, this was another thing I seen that was being posted about the other day, how concentrated the S&P 500 is. But actually, when you look at concentration across the world, the way the US is concentrated isn't actually as bad as most countries to their main ETF that they track in their countries. But yeah, the Magnificent Seven stocks now reflect a record 38% of the S&P 500's market cap. This means more than 38 cents of every dollar invested in the S&P 500 goes into these seven names. Now, we've known this for a long while anyway. So the cultural difference between UK, US, goes crazy. Obviously, hopefully OBJs has started to change. Yeah, hopefully we'll have to start doing visits to schools and teaching all the kids there to invest their pocket money. Will says, yeah, we can. So yeah, there we go. Will's your man for that type of stuff. I don't like buying S&P 5 since I don't want to buy so much Apple. Yeah, I mean, again, like I say, I invest primarily in individual stocks, but every Friday I do drip feed into my S&P 500 and my all world. Now, that does make me massively overweight in the US stocks, but I'm okay with that. Now I understand what I'm doing. So, but yeah, again, no, the problem with the S&P, what protects you, I guess, is obviously if a company like Apple, for instance, goes bust, naturally it's going to get zapped out and something else put in. Of course, you'd feel it, but you're not going to feel it as much as if you just owned Apple alone. So that's one of those. It's a lovely self-sustaining thing that makes 7 market share. Yeah, it really is. It's crazy. It's a lot, but again, I seen a video the other day that said when it was talking about concentration, and it's not a bad thing. It just means that certain companies are more performing than the rest of the market. So you can take it with a pinch of salt and say, oh, it's a really bad thing. It's too high, blah, blah, blah. Or you can say, oh, actually, there's so many decent companies are absolutely flying. So yeah, depends on which way you want to take it, I guess. But so this bit, then we're going to touch into this. Americans are on a year-end shopping spree. The Retail Federation expects retail sales in November and December to grow 3.7% to 4.2% compared with the same period a year ago. So over $1 trillion. And then on the next one, so we're looking at the inflation rates. So naturally, US, obviously, it's higher, 3%, but you've still got some really high ones like Russia, 7.7%. Turkey's 33%. It's crazy, even though it's really cheap over there at Wells. UK is sitting at 3.6%, so we're still relatively high here. Singapore, Thailand, Finland, Switzerland, all these guys are really low up here, but this all loops into the next bit that we're going to talk about. So obviously we're saying we're on a shopping spree in the US, but the inflation is once again growing faster than posted wages. So posted wages tracked by Indeed anyway, increased just 2.5% year on year in October, the lowest growth rate since 2020, excluding the 2020 pandemic. This is the weakest wage growth in at least 7 years. For comparison, wages rose 9.5% year on year at the January 2022 peak. So that's something to take in mind for sure. And then obviously what we was just talking about, where we're touching on this, the emerging market, obviously the real GDP forecast for 2025, India was 6.8%, US was 2.7%, China's is 4.6%. So some massive GDP growth forecast there. Funny, like, yeah. If tech goes down, everything will go down. It's the AI economy. Yeah, again, like I say, it goes. We have cycles in markets, didn't we? Once upon a time, we had all the rail, you had steel, you had the obviously the .com, etc. All that. I mean, it goes through cycles naturally. Eventually, you will obviously see UK looking at wage growth. No, that's US. That was US, not UK. We wish it was UK. I believe it was US anyway. Though, oh yeah, it's US. Don't Yeah, I mean, like Will's just said, he's just hit the nail on the head there. ChatGPT saved the tech web 3 years ago. And again, though, when what happens when that stops? Because obviously Sam Altman, etc., demanding a ton of money now. So we'll see where we are. That I'm just going to message M5 still, see if he's on schedule. Make sure we're still. Don't know if he's lurking. I can't see him in there yet. So just dropping a message there. How is Spain growing more than Korea? So I think this is obviously the GDP forecast. Spain is like I say, Spain's very tourist based as well, though, isn't it? I mean, forever European flying to Spain. It's one of the most sought after countries. Team Gemini, ChatGPT. Stop being a hater, Will. Stop being a hater. I'm not looking forward to the budget. My investor account is going to get destroyed with taxes. Yeah, that's what I mean. Obviously, I've got a bit in the GIA, but nothing crazy. I prefer the ISA, but it'll be interesting to see what they're actually going to do with the cash ISAs or anything like that. M5, we're looking about 20 past to half past, so any minute, but he was aware, so he shouldn't be too far away. Anyway, stop asking for the goat. Anyway, I'm here. That's what I'm here for. Three. So yeah, next one. So obviously, Bessett will announce this week on healthcare costs. So anybody who's in Oscar, anything like that, what we oh, there we go. He has just messaged me again. I can see an application there. Yep. Yeah, we're still on time for schedule. So yeah, anybody who's in Oscar, anything like that, might see a boost this week, or you might see a decline. Who knows? This was also interesting that was posted earlier. The US Treasury Secretary Bessett just said interest rate sensitive sectors are in recession, but confident about 26 growth prospects. Entire economy not at risk of recession. That's an interesting double-ended sword there. It depends on which way you want to you look at it. So that could spike fear, but it could also pull fear away. So it depends, I guess. Is that stocks that are going to be where we're talking, like, for instance, SoFi, people like that? Is that where people are going to get hit? Or so yeah, it'd be interesting. I mean, I know PayPal fell a bit because they said they were expecting consumer spending to be lower in Q4, but obviously from what we've seen, they're expecting spending to be higher. If we touch back on where we was here, they're expecting spending to be higher towards the end of the year. So obviously we have got the Christmas run. So it'd be interesting to see what happens. What's people's views on that for sure. We also seen over the weekend that Trump is putting pressure on Russia to end the war, which obviously good thing. Now, another thing that I found very interesting, and this one I want to touch on, Walt Disney. So if you would have put $10,000 in Disney 10 years ago, you would now have $9,870. That's nuts. And this is again where you want to touch on the fact of you can't hold stocks forever. If you hold stocks forever, this is again where you can end up. Obviously, if you would have bought Disney in 10 years ago, you would be less off where you was. So again, this is where I preach what I do. Is obviously trimming down stocks, taking profit. Nothing wrong with it, but it's very interesting to see that for sure. Just text M5 back. So yeah, that's very interesting. I mean, obviously Intel was the same as this. I think it was, or was it Dell? One of them. Intel or Dell was the same as this for a long time. So yeah, very interesting to see. So obviously earnings this week. Let's touch on that. We've got obviously a bit of government news this week as well. So let's touch on that real quick. So me and Will obviously carry a lot of this. This is the Discord if no one's seen it. So obviously this is everything that we have. Let me put that on the screen. So this is a Discord if no one's seen this and you're new to this. We have obviously all the channels, general chat, stock discussions. Then we've got our own channels that we build out. Obviously, you've got the Ondas chat. You've got Nebius and Vidya, very, very active, very, very always on the go. So earnings and markets this week. So this week's earnings, we've got the likes of, we've got Dell, we've got Neo. I know a few people used to hold that. I'm not sure if anyone does anymore. Best Buy. So I always watch these ones, consumer spending, etc. So not a lot going on this week. Obviously, earnings is starting to die out a little bit now. Is anybody old than these, or got a couple of airport ones? These ones might feel it a little bit. I've just seen M5 join that. So yeah, so obviously touching on a little bit of these, still some of those to go. Key events this week. We've got some PPI inflation data on Tuesday. You got September's retail sales data, so this will be interesting and one to keep a close eye on for sure. John Deere, is that one that you just said? Is it Will? Not aware of that one. I know you track a lot of stuff, don't you? So, Urban Outfitters. Oh, John Deere there, yeah. A lot of the Chinese stocks here as well, by the look of it on Wednesday. So interesting. So obviously key events this week. We've got some inflation data, some retail sales data. We've got some consumer confidence numbers. Q3 25 GDP data. So actually quite a massive week for data, which is going to matter. So yeah, very interesting. Right. So obviously, let me just get rid of that. Most people aren't even here for me tonight. They're here for the boss. So let's add him in. M5, you there, mate?
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you, man. How you doing? You okay?
All right, yeah. I don't
Yeah,
have
good,
any
mate.
headphones on or anything. I have the audio going through my speakers in my office. It's the first
No,
time
it's cool, man. It's cool. Obviously, just
I've
for anybody,
even plugged in my studio grade mic.
just for anybody that's unaware, M5 won't be sharing his camera just to protect himself, obviously, because of work and stuff. So that's why he's not sharing his video.
That and I don't even have a camera on this computer. It's a Mac Studio, so like
All that money, and you ain't got a computer.
yeah, all that money for a desktop. They don't give you a camera, and I never bought one. I just have one on my work computer, and I'm not doing it on my work computer. So
Nah, it makes sense, man. It makes sense. Do you want to share your screen, and then obviously we'll chuck yours up? Do you remember when I showed you earlier?
Yeah, let me go ahead and get it set up here. I gotta make sure I'm sharing the right screen. I got 4 monitors total in my setup, so I gotta. Let's see.
No, that's cool, man. You can do it so you only share like that specific window as well. So even if you click on another window, it won't follow you. It'll stay to where you are.
Yeah, let me see.
But how you doing anyway, man? How's your Sunday going?
It's good.
I mean,
My
it's only
wife
mid afternoon
and
for you guys.
kids. My wife and kids went to Orlando, so
Oh, nice,
they
man.
Let me see if this does it. Is it working?
Yeah, so yeah, I've got that there. So that'll show your window now. So you just need to load
All
up
right,
what you
yeah,
need to
so
load up.
that's my main desktop. Let me go ahead and minimize this. All right, can you guys still see?
Yep, that's cool.
All right.
Can you maximize that at all, or is that as big as you can make it?
Yeah, I'll make it bigger in a second.
Yeah.
I guess first things first, before I jump in, maybe a little bit about myself.
Yep.
I've been doing investing and trading for a pretty long time, ever since I was in my teens. So I'm 40 years old. I work full time, have a full time job, married, wife, kids, the whole 9 yards. Most of the trading I do is more longer term investing. I do like to trade. I mean, I like to make positions. I like to trade around positions, but not as active of a trader as other people who are out there in the trading world. I've had the opportunity to have a lot of mentors in my my personal and professional career. They give me a lot of input and consideration. I've had the opportunity to exchange ideas and research with a lot of institutions in my time. So just a different way of thinking about things. When you're dealing with institutions and their risk management, their approach to making money, their approach to trading versus someone such as myself. We're trading our own money and don't use margin. I don't use margin. I tried it one time a while ago. too much stress, so all my trades are cash. That's also a limiting factor in how I trade, because usually you got to wait for like trades to settle. Most of my trading is done through JP Morgan, just on like a self-managed account. But yeah, in my professional life, I'm working full time. I'm usually up early. I live in Florida in the United States, so East Coast. I'm usually up before 4 a.m. I got my dog. He likes to go out early. My wife, she works full time. She's got to be up by like 5:30 in the morning. So I usually just try to head down to the office and hang out with the dog downstairs after I take him out, and then I start doing my morning review, my morning research. I start looking at international news, overnight stuff, and then I'll watch the pre-market. I watch the pre-market pretty closely. Um, this thing here, I always have this clock up in front of me. This is just like a clock app. So I know at any point in time, like where it is, what time it is. And usually the way that I'm thinking about it, you got the pre-market that starts at 4 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Usually there's a big push of volume as like overnight trades are clearing through. Market opens at 9:30. And then, anywhere from like 11 to 11:30, there's typically some volume, like 1:35, you see more volume. And then as you head into the afternoon, so even with my day job, I try to keep this clock up. I can make it bigger, as I'm doing conference calls, work meetings. I always know what time it is. So I don't have like, I don't always have to look at my phone. I don't need to look anywhere else. I just have it on my screen all the time. And to give you a sense, let me see if I can pull over one of my other screens here. This will give you all a sense of how I look at things.
See what
So
people don't quite realize. Obviously, you was one of the first people in Ondas, and obviously, I mean, look at what you do. People don't understand how much effort you actually put in. You find stuff that people just don't find. Like you put a lot of time and effort into stuff.
yeah. So I can post up a picture of like what my setup looks like. I used to trade from like a laptop, or maybe no, it was like a Mac Mini, and I had like all these graphic interface boxes, and the thing would just get so hot. And I said, screw it, I'm buying a nice computer that can get me all the screens in real time. So I've got 4 screens, or I can run 4 screens. Usually I'm just running 3, and then I have another one that's tied to my work computer, just for productivity. Like I don't need to have 4 screens going to know what's going on in the market. But on one of my screens, 2 of them are vertical. So like this, you can imagine just like a like a 22 or 23-inch monitor, but turned on its side going vertical. Just give you a sense of like things that I'm always looking at. So this is what NASDAQ 100. I've got the S&P. You can toggle between different time frames just to see, what the trends are. And I'll cover some of this just in a minute. I've got the Dow. I've got the S&P index, the Russell 2000. You can all kind of get a sense of what it's done over time. But like depending on the market conditions, I just want to always keep an eye on it, and you can see just different time frames, different parameters. Like if you zoom out on like a daily, like hey, it doesn't look too bad, still on that uptrend. Bitcoin's always crazy. I tend to keep an eye on it just because it's fun to watch. You can learn a lot, and I'll show you guys kind of what I'm seeing there. Right now I just have it on the monthly. I was looking at the weekly and the daily a little while ago. I've got another thing that most people don't think about, but just the 10-year yield. So US Treasury 10-year yield. It's usually a good indicator of whatever the market's doing, just based on how many things are priced around it. Usually a lot of mortgage money is priced around the 10-year. So like if you zoom out on the 10-year, you can kind of see like where it's been, where it's trending. A lot of people talk about the 10-year and say, oh, the 10-year yield needs to come down. Well, it hasn't really happened yet. Anytime it cracks under 4 or below 4, it gets interesting. I'll give you guys an interesting story. So when I was purchasing my house or refinancing my mortgage, I was keeping a very close eye on it because in the U.S. when you're doing a refi or kind of any mortgage when you're buying a home, you got to lock in a rate, and then that's the rate you get at closing. So I was watching this thing like a hawk, and like I want to say, like I probably like bottom ticked it and locked in like whatever it was on a 30-year rate. I got like a 2.5% interest rate, which is kind of unheard of now. But just something like the 10-year, like anytime you're doing like mortgages or car purchases, like if the rate is coming down, usually interest rates will come down just because it so dynamic with the rest of the market. And then one of the obvious ones, best for last, is just the VIX, so the volatility index. Anytime you see the VIX getting crazy, people are usually losing a lot of money in the process. The other day, I want to say it was like Thursday and Friday, the VIX was up to like 27, 28. Um, Within this, you can kind of see the regression channel. Um, VIX, like, there's a lot of products and a lot of trading that goes on with the VIX. Anytime the VIX spikes, you get a dump in the S&P, and anytime the VIX dumps, you get a spike in the S&P. So kind of like an inverse correlation. Um, so I always keep an eye on it. It's usually something that anytime my friends, on the institutional side, think that like the market has a lot of risk, they'll load up on, I think it's UVX calls, which are like call options on the VIX. I don't trade it, but my friends have in the past. They've done pretty well, and it's a quick trade. It's not like an investment. They'll load up on these call options maybe for like a week or two out because they get a sense that the VIX is too low, it's ready to spike, and lo and behold, someone does something and the VIX just starts spiking, and they can make pretty decent money doing that, um, one way or another. So yeah, these are just like 8 things I always have up no matter what. I keep them locked on one of my screens, so I'll move that off the screen. And then figure what I'll do is I'll give you all maybe like a rundown of just how I approach things looking in the market, and then jump into some of the charts and just some of the things I've been seeing lately. Um, from a charting standpoint, I use TradingView. I use TradingView. I don't trade through TradingView. I don't do anything else through TradingView except charts. Reason being is it's pretty powerful. A lot of people use it. There's a lot of saved, favorite things that people have built around TradingView is like kind of plugins and add-ons. And just for me as an individual, I find that their charts are pretty straightforward. The applications, on a desktop, you could access it on your phone. And for me, um, I want to say it's like the pro version that I use just because of how many charts I might have up at a time, the number of indicators that I use. Maybe it's like, I don't know, $700 a year. So like for a dollar or two a day, like just all the functional features and stuff that I get, I find that it's worth it. You guys
Five,
can
just a
see
quick
here,
one.
right?
One of the lads have asked a question here, so I will pop up some questions as they go across on the screen, and obviously you can answer the ones that you want to answer.
Yeah.
One of the lads have obviously just asked, would love a quick insight of thinking back to when you first started. What made you start, and where did your first few months and year look? Obviously, it'll help out the newer guys.
Just in general, like trading in general.
Investing in general, like anything, like the whole
Yeah,
system.
it's a pretty interesting story. So I grew up in the New York, New Jersey tri-state area, so in the Northeast. And for me, my background, I'm Jewish, and like every Jewish kid, like they pretty much go through like their bar or their bat mitzvah. And my sister, for her bat mitzvah, she took all her bat mitzvah money and invested it in the market, like mutual funds. like custodial accounts. My brother, he did the same thing. And then ultimately, like I did the same thing. So I started off with like my bar mitzvah money, like, you know, $20,000. And I'm in like maybe sixth or seventh grade at that time. And that just grew to be whatever, like fast forward to when I graduated college and, had, a job. I took that money and started trading it myself. So I was buying like Apple stock. I was trading Apple stock. I was following the whole like iPhone launch. A lot of kind of like, it was like BlackBerry versus Apple nonstop. And I just had like everything pretty much in Apple. Like I wasn't worried about it, didn't have to think too much. And like the money just kept going up and growing. And then just from there got really more interested in like, oh, like the analysts, what the analysts think, how you read through things and like supply and demand, the whole production cycles. And like the iPhone launch, I don't even remember what year it was, but that was just like a big thing, like all the wireless devices. um, it was making a big move. And like even back in the day, there was, I think, Research in Motion, right? Was it RIM, BlackBerry? Like that device originally, like everyone then in my company had one. Everybody basically had one at that time. And then like you can kind of see like over time, Apple just ate into their market share. Literally, like I don't even know anyone that uses a BlackBerry anymore. I don't know if RIM
Yeah.
is even still out there, but like 20 years ago, like it's like you kind of like had your BlackBerry and you had your laptop. It's like your ball and your chain in the corporate world. So just seeing those kinds of things and just understanding, um, like what institutions were doing, got more and more involved in like trying to read through like the rumors of like what would be coming out in the pipeline, like new devices. And then like when they launched their phone, um, it was kind of a breakthrough moment. Like the stock was just doing really good. I sold out of my Apple stock, had whatever money at my disposal, and then I just started trading other things. Um, there's a lot of stuff that I've traded in and out of. I can touch on that. I'll give you guys a good story. So there was one stock, GoGo in-flight Wi-Fi, and it was a long-term position that I held just because I traveled so much. It was always in front of me. Like if you're traveling and you're on an airplane, you kind of had to use it. And if I were to go back, like, I bought shares in their IPO around like maybe $17 worth, and the stock just spiked. Like it spiked out of nowhere. Like it got all this crazy attention, and like it went up to like $35. Okay. So everyone was like following it, and then like like any other stock at the time, like there could be like some sell off, some sell side pressure. Well, this stock, around COVID went like way down, like all the way down to $1.33.
Was you still
Okay.
holding at that point?
Oh yeah, we loaded the fuck up. We loaded the boat. So the one thing that was unique with GoGo is they had these convertible notes, and it was very hostile. Um, the guys that were on the convertible notes wanted to like take over the company, and the CEO wasn't going to let that happen. And like one day they just like dumped all the notes and the shares, and like price went to like maybe here, like from here to there, like it just got ugly. Okay. And there were a lot of short reports, a lot of people saying the company would go bankrupt and all this bullshit. And like everything was going okay, like a lot of accumulation. And then like COVID happened in like 2020, and like boom goes the dynamite, it like goes down to here. And then my buddies and I, all of them had fairly sizable positions. We started watching what the convertible notes were trading at, and it was around this time that Intelsat was going through their bankruptcy. If you're not familiar with Intelsat, it's another major satellite telecommunications company. Well, they were going through their bankruptcy, and I was following that docket pretty closely just because, like, there were a lot of people that had these Intelsat shares, and I didn't have any of it. I could care less about Intelsat, but I was following it just to get a sense of, oh, what are they going to be valued at and who's going to acquire it because they have, a lot of IP, they have like certain airline contracts and whatnot. And it was just something that, like, anytime you're focused on one sector, you kind of want to see what everything else is going on from like a peer perspective, right? So my buddies and I, we got wind of the fact that, like, maybe it was might have been like Deutsche Bank or, like, I don't even remember what bank it was, but someone was willing to give them like, $400 million to go out and acquire another company and that other company's commercial aviation division. Okay. So here you have a bankrupt company going through the bankruptcy pleadings and the judge allowing them to go buy another company. Like, just shit you never see. Okay. And I knew enough at the time about the dynamics of the segment because I had been investing and following and trending it all throughout this time where, you know, my buddies and I, we started placing our wagers, right around bottom tick, like COVID, like it wasn't going to go bankrupt. They still had other assets that could be monetized, and just the value of the spectrum that they owned was worth a lot more. So I want to say, like somewhere around like this time frame, like word started getting out. Yep, this is going to happen, and then just accumulation, adding to the position, and then when the news happened, you can just see this volume candle like the end of the month. I don't even remember how many shares it was, but the stock basically went from like 4 to like 12. Okay. And there was a lot of trading going on with the convertible notes. And if you understand how convertible notes work, it's all pegged against the price of the stock. So if the convertible notes are trading higher, the stock's going to follow it. Well, the stock ultimately wound up running up to like $23.69. And yeah, a lot of people made a lot of money in the process. It was pretty hectic trade, all things considered. But like even now, um, I still think it's an attractive company because of the value of their IP. And like you could just see like how it's been trending down over time. Like right now it's in like the 650 range. And there's insiders, like I've met them, I've gone to their board meetings, like they've been buying it back, like they're loading up, like they're not stupid people. They're
And are
all
you still in
very
this, or
well.
did you get out before?
Yeah, I mean most of the stock that we had, um I want to say we sold the majority of it in like anywhere from like 13 to like $17. It's never something where I like totally time the top, I'm not trying to always do that necessarily.
Of course, you would
Um
have brought your average a lot down when it dropped in COVID, wouldn't you? So,
yeah, yeah, I mean like whatever shares I had, I want to say like I sold out of most of it and then plowed a lot of that into like other drone companies like the Ondas and the Red Cat of the world. So I can
mhm.
cover those, but like still something I keep an eye on. Still have shares that my relatives, my family members, they still own it, and I tell them, hey, just keep holding it. Like there's nothing wrong with it.
And like you've just touched on about the convertible notes, and how you looked into them and knew there was going to rise. Obviously, Ondas have their own convertible notes, don't they?
Yeah, the thing is like with these convertible notes that were on GoGo, they were trading on the market. So you could follow, like, as the bonds were trading, you could follow what someone was willing to pay for it. And at the time, like when this thing was like going down on the bottom, um, the person that was like buying and selling it was Jason Mudrick. So if you know anything about Jason Mudrick, he got all up and involved with AMC, and like he was one of their main like creditors, who was like buying their debt, exchanging their debt, getting shares, liquidating shares, and then like he kind of got caught up in the whole thing. Maybe he like lost some money on the trades with AMC, but like he's mostly like a distressed assets guy, right? So anytime you have like distressed asset people trading in or out of things, like it's usually because they're like making moves or just cashing out or like their hedges are good, whatever. Like they didn't want to own it. And then the firm that was buying it was a giant private equity company who they ultimately wound up like taking their ownership position in GoGo to like 1/3 because they exercised the converts. They got the shares at like a $6 cost basis, and then yeah, like they didn't have to really try too hard to acquire shares on the open market because they had them through the notes. So interesting story there, but yeah, the thing with GoGo is like they get a lot of headline risk with like Starlink. Anytime Elon farts, stock will move. But they've got, I want to say, a couple things in the pipe that they're working through. I keep a close eye on it. I mean, I think it's undervalued. It's just like headline risk. Not a lot of people want to own it. I think it's a name thing. People are kind of tired of it, but um, let me give you guys a rundown of just how I like structure some of the things that I'm always watching. So within TradingView, you can group all these different things into categories. So I have a very very large watch list. So like just all this crypto crap. I don't trade crypto, but a lot of people do. So like Bitcoin, I'm always watching Bitcoin to see what it'll do. I mean, the other night it was like 80,000 or whatever. Now it's just cranking through. Like if I go in and you can kind of see, like I was watching a 1 hour chart just because there's certain lines of like support and resistance where it's trying, like it's got to like fill up this volume gap. It wants to get to like 89. Like if it can hold these levels and push to 89 between like here and like the end of the night, like whatever time zone you're in. I don't even know what time zone crypto trades against. I'm assuming it starts with Asia and then works its way over. I don't follow it other than just the price.
It's
But you
currently
can
sitting at
see,
87,500, so it is rising back up. It's up 3.39% today.
yeah, it's like you could just see like this giant candle down. This candle's gonna want to backfill. Like it's getting pretty close. So it's gonna get tested on like a 1 hour time frame. If we're lucky, we see it pump to like 90. You know, on like a 2 hour time frame, it's kind of showing the same thing. 4 hour time frame, maybe it gets tested at like this 88 level.
And for
Uh,
people that don't know, Five, what are the lines that you're looking at? Like obviously I know that it's support and stuff, but these four lines that you'll keep using as key indicators, what are
yeah,
those
so
lines?
a lot of these, I'll go to the labels. So most people will look at just like simple moving averages. I tend to look at the exponential moving averages. So within TradingView, one of the indicators that's just in the settings, you can have like an exponential 6, a 5, a 4. Here there's like I want to say there's no one, but like then you have like a VWAP. You could have upper band, the lower band for the Bollinger Bands, and then there's the Keltner channels. And the reason why I do all this stuff is because like you never know what time frame something is going to stick to. Like a shorter time frame may show one thing, like this little rising wedge. Well, if this algo or whatever indicator is right, this thing should technically be dumping back to 82,000. Whether that happens against the 30-minute, I don't know, but like the RSI here, it's getting a little overheated. Clearly, it's gone from, the 82 to 87. But if you look at the 1 hour, it doesn't show that. If you look at like a 4 hour, it doesn't show that. If anything, the 4 hour shows the relative strength just totally bottomed out to an oversold, and now it's getting bought back up. So that you have the relative strength index. I have it in purple. I have the moving average of the relative strength index as a yellow line. And anytime you have these crosses, it kind of just shows that there's a reversal in the pattern. Um, whether it goes up, whether it goes down. Like here, if you like zoom out on the daily, this is a pretty interesting view. It'll probably tell the story. Let me see if I can just go full screen. So, okay, Bitcoin summed up. I don't think there's anything special to Bitcoin. I'm of the opinion it's all just an algo that paints tape. And banks and institutions know how to take advantage of it. You know, they trade it, they do whatever, they can manipulate it. So I just don't touch it, but I know it just drives a lot of other things. And you know, you can imagine like the last drawdown, a lot of people got liquidated, right? Because they're just trading on leverage and margin and yada yada yada. So here in April, it was like 73,000, then it goes all the way up to 112. RSI hits like overbought 77, comes back down a little bit, gets bought back up, goes back down, pumps back up in July to like 123, gets sold off to almost like 111, gets pumped back up, overbought 124, sold, pumps back up, sold, and then it gets really pumped up to where the RSI gets to like 72 or 73. That's like your top right there, that 126, 272. And then we had like the meltdown. Like everybody just started getting liquidated, right? It was a Friday. I was on a camping trip. Everything just got liquidated that Friday. It was crazy. And a lot of it was based on just people on the wrong side here with leverage. And you can see like from top all the way down to bottom, that's like a $40,000 move, give or take, $46,000, right? So right now, it's kind of restarting this cycle where if this RSI crossover happens, yeah, you're gonna see like some moves back up, but like it's got a lot of volume that it's got to clear through, right?
So just another quick one. One of the guys have asked, the red and blue on the side, that's volume, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I thought it was.
That's all just the volume profile. So like green is buys, reds is sells, and like you know any way you look at it, like if I was to go and like hide my labels because they get in the way of the visuals. Like it's kind of hard to
Yeah.
see with the numbers, but like even just here, like you can get a sense of where most of the support or resistance is going to be if there's a gap. You know, it'll show that too. So like even right here, there's a giant gap between like 73 and 80, whatever, and like so far that has held. Right now, the next move down, it could go down to here to like 69, which I mean, it's a number that I posted. And the reason being, if I take a look at the weekly just looks like shit. And again, this is just Bitcoin. Like I haven't even gotten into anything real yet. So Bitcoin, it's already lost that support around this line here, which you know, this 88,000 number. Next drop down is 66. And like if this computer algo is right, it could go to 47, you know, and the RSI on the weekly hasn't hit the oversold yet. So there could be like more pain in store, so to speak, right? If you look at the monthly, different story, you know, like 75-ish, 74-ish, 61, you know, it could go down to 46. And like here you start getting the upper band and the lower band, the standard deviations start to come into play. Like even here, like 69,000 was the last high. It hit a low, and then, I don't know if it's going to price in another high on the monthly. But you can kind of see like maybe like 75, you know, right around here, like support versus resistance, 71, 69. Like 69 is an easy number for obvious reasons. People will buy it, people will sell it, people will do whatever around it. So getting back to the watch list, I've got all this crypto crap. Um, they all correlate one way or another, and then I stick MicroStrategy in there because it's all pegged against it, and then just a lot of different tech names, names that I know a lot of people trade, a lot of people follow. I've got some of this in our family's accounts, like nothing too crazy. Like it's all diversified. Um, there's a lot of names that kind of pop up over time. Um, and it's just a good barometer. Like how you group certain things, like oil and gas. You get a sense of how they all are trading, what crude is trading at, and then the companies around, the crude values. It's just something that, like, hey, if oil is going down versus going up, it just puts pressure on the economy and how much drilling they do. I've got some retail and like different marijuana um, tickers that I keep an eye on. Autos and mobility, so like Tesla. Man, if you look at Tesla, it's on the daily. It's all kind of doing the same thing. It kind of did a double top. Maybe it needs to get down to like this 350 level, but like the RSI, I always just think the RSI is going to be the biggest indicator of where it's going because it's either overbought or it's oversold. And in my experience, the trading and the algorithms that the institutions use, it's mostly going to be dependent on this. Like if Tesla were to like drop down to like 350, this RSI would get flushed all the way down, like you see it here, all the way down. It gets bought up, and then markets get made. There's volatility in the mix, consolidation. But even here right now, like there was a large pump. Probably this may have been when Elon bought more stock, right? I don't even remember what day it was, but I remember he bought like $1 billion worth, and then the market reacted one way or the other. Then it just goes up, and then there's distribution, and then it can go back down. So Tesla is a popular one. A lot of people trade it. I don't. I don't own any of it. My relatives do. Some of my relatives, my aunt on my wife's side, she was a very early investor in it, like in the IPO, like back here. So she's got it in her portfolio long term. She doesn't really do much. Maybe she trades around her position, but she's been holding it a long time. Ferrari, they kind of fell off the cliff with their stuff. Carvana, Carvana. I don't even know if I should talk about Carvana. It's, I think it's manipulated by their insiders one way or another. The story on it was, yeah, it was all the way up here at like 360, and then it went down to like three. Okay, now it's like all the way back up. So, um, just weird shit, like stuff that yeah, people can make a lot of money one way or the other.
Mhm.
Um,
What's these type of charts look? I know you're going to get a lot of questions on the Ondas side. So when you're like buying your Ondas and stuff, how do these charts help you? Because I know you're going to get quite a few questions when we get into the Ondas
yeah,
section.
yeah, I'll get there. I'll keep going through this, and then we'll switch over to Honda. So basically, anything in the autos and mobility stuff, healthcare stocks, railroad stocks. Sometimes I put things into categories to where I think
I
the
like FIP,
should go,
FIP.
like fit.
We know about that
And
one.
then also like I'll put like stuff that I'm watching right near the real stuff that I'm always watching, just that way I could see it on my list because it's such a long list. Like I have all these drone stocks that I'll go through. I got telecom stuff that I keep an eye on, aviation, so all the airlines, the OEMs, some of the VTOL makers, they all correlate one way or another. And then all the index and futures things that I'm watching at any point in time. And then there's just like this other group. I have it labeled as top picks. They're not my top picks by any means. It's just where I put everything else that I don't know. And I know there's a lot of people talking and trading around it. So if ever I see crazy moves in like this category, you could post something. People will will look at it. And yeah, oh, like Oracle, I was talking about with my aunt, just based on their debt obligations, the credit default swaps. I mean, there's a lot of pressure on the stock. Um, I don't even know what price I would buy it at, but it's getting pretty close to oversold. So you might start seeing some crazy moves come into Oracle, maybe even here at like this 180. If it gets to like 140, I would definitely buy it long term. And I
I
mean,
think
obviously
someone was
anything
asking
can
about
change.
Oracle just.
It's just looking at the levels, right? Um, all right, so I do have some charts already set up here where I could go through like Red Cat and Ondas.
If you got this one more, you might want to add to that as well. What's your thoughts on Kraken as well as the underwater manned?
Which one is?
Kraken, I think it's KRKNF, I believe,
Let me
remember
pull it
right.
up. I don't even know if I have it on there. KRKNF. This one.
Yeah, Kraken Robotics, I believe it is. Yeah, that's the one. So that one does unmanned underwater submarines.
Um, I'd have to look at it. Right now, if I just look at the monthly, the RSI is really, really high. And there was
Mhm.
this crossover. So it could come back down. I don't know if they have any offerings or debt stuff on the table, but there might be something at play there. I mean, it's definitely close to showing like a flag on the daily here.
Their earnings is tomorrow, according to someone in the chat.
Okay. Let me see.
I was surprised you hadn't heard of
Looks
this
like
one
a
yet.
1 billion market cap right now.
This is where you start going down a rabbit hole.
Yeah, I mean, like all of it's perspective. There could be institutions going into it. There could be a lot of traders or call options going on with it. I think right now, if it's on the OTC, like it's not going to be like a main index. So
Mhm.
like liquidity sources of liquidity could be a lot different. I just don't know enough about it. But
Yeah,
like
of course.
the chart is what the chart is. Like there's computers that trade the charts, the algorithms. Okay. I mean, it's definitely holding some of the key lines that you would want it to. Right now, if I just focus here, it's like it's got this line here showing as a support. It's got like this orange line kind of acting like a little resistance. Even here, if it spikes up, it's getting like slammed back down. So someone's trying to keep a lid on it. Like they may not want it to go up for the time being, and they want it to consolidate a little bit more. Um, Let me look at the 4 hour. The 4 hour has a TTM squeeze indicator that was hitting on it. So anytime you see these red dots, it just means that the bands are getting really, really, really tight. So the Bollinger Bands and then the Keltner channels, they start to collapse on each other. And like one way or another, there's going to be a move, whether it's up or down. So like right here, like it looks like the move was down, and maybe that was like just because of like the broader market in the morning, and then it came right back up. So the wicks on the candles can be indicative, like right in this level. There seems to be like a support line, like this 363, like 350 to 360, and then there's probably going to be some resistance around like four. If I'm just eyeballing it, right? But let me go to Ondas.
because I
So
remember. Go on, sorry, carry on.
yeah, like one thing to keep in mind is like I'm not like day trading names based on charts. I'm using charts as a tool. I know some
Mhm.
people that don't even use charts and they strictly go off of like the feel of the order book on the level two. And they can see where the size is and they can position themselves to know where like a support or a resistance is or like a trading
I
range.
mean, I don't trade it either, but I use I use the order book on Weeble, quite daily and track the IV and stuff like that. Have the options on there as well.
Yeah, like usually during the day, so like I'll have my trading platform up and I'll have like the level two for maybe like two or three stocks going at the same time. I'll see like the level two on some of the options. I'll have the option chain. I'll see the largest trades hitting the option chain. So there's a lot of other stuff that I'm using besides the charts. Um, so yeah, like Ondas just from like the larger view standpoint, this is what it looks like on a 4 hour. If I look here, like very, very, very basic chart, if I go out to the weekly or the daily, like right now it's a giant cup. So like this double top all the way down from like when the note holder was doing his thing. There was a giant spike up in January. So this would have been around like the whole drone fiasco, and then the note holder would have been liquidating shares, institutions loading up, and then it gets that second win when the note holder is liquidating yet again because the note holder is basically selling shares at the predefined prices that were listed out on the slide. So I think it was like 155, like maybe like 145, 55, 165, like whatever it was. Like once the note holders done placing the shares, there's less pressure on it, and then it got over whatever it was. I think on like a 200-day moving average, and then yeah, like I can't even remember all the things that happened, but from a
Yeah, there's too
daily
much.
chart, yeah, it went up.
and
um,
and I think a lot of the problem is because people bought on the way up. I know me and you've spoke about this for quite a while now. We've actually touched base a lot, but because people were buying at like 9, 10, 11, the amount of shit I see that the stock catches now because it's just a fall in life. It's like you just bought in after it rose 900%.
yeah, I mean, people have fear of missing out. At the same time, there's institutions that are trading it. Um,
Hmm.
like I remember I was in Chicago on a business trip. I think it was like this week, and like the stock was like what, six, and then there was an offering at like five. I don't even remember what days it was. It was like right here maybe, or no,
It was like a
right?
Thursday or something. I remember I was out shopping when it happened. I remember.
Yeah, it was like right here. Like the stock didn't even hit five. Like I was buying in like the 540 range, and then like the stock, it did the whole throat goat thing, and went back to like high six, and then it's just like consolidating. Like a lot of times, these institutions they can make a market, and then you have the book runners like they get their shares at a certain price, and like there's a floor. They can short the stock too, like legitimately, like from a professional standpoint, they can have a short position to fill like orders and excess volume, and then like they get the shares delivered and they cover. Um, so like they did that offering, and then I want to say like Eric and company, they just started making their moves. The other thing that was key is like getting over that five level. Stern got in the money with his RSUs, so he's got like I don't know how many shares of like reward that he's allowed to exercise, but it's like at least like 1 million or 2 million shares that were granted to him. Like when the stock was like all the way down here. Um, so he's in the money on his shares. And then let's see if I can go back. Yeah, like there's other traders. I know Jake, he got involved. He took some size. He
He's
was
back
writing
in now, isn't he?
calls. What's up?
He got back in.
Yeah, he got back in, I think Friday.
Friday. Yeah, he had a big order. I think it was like, don't quote me because I could be wrong. Because one of my guys posted it in the chat. Oh, you're in the chat. You see it, don't you?
And
But
I saw it. I saw like one of my buddies sent it to me after the fact. Like I was I was pretty excited on Friday myself, just with some of the shit that I saw and found. But like I think he bought 150,000 shares,
I think you're right. I was looking for it. I think that's what it was. Yeah.
and like he'll probably write calls against it. Um, I have a lot of covered calls against the shares that I own in my name. Like there's shares that other people in my family have where they have not really done anything with calls or covered calls. So like in theory, like I was rolling a lot of my calls up and out during this move. So like as they were opening higher strikes, I was closing out and rolling out and up. And like I want to say most of my shares are written against the January 2028 $17 strike. And I've got at least like 6,000 contracts that I've written, which I'm okay with. Like, hey, if they take my shares at 17, like 17 times like, 600,000, whatever, it's a lot of money, And if they expire worthless, like let's say it gets to 15 and not 17, like write them all again. They'll probably be higher strikes. I could always roll them out and up again and take in the premium. But
Because
each time I
obviously,
was rolling them out, I was just buying shares. I was buying more shares.
because there was a lot of warrants issued at 20, wasn't they? So I mean, realistically, someone sees his price going north of 20.
I think over time it'll get there. Yeah, I don't know when. I mean, the
Yeah,
sooner,
of course. I mean, it could be 5 years.
like
You know what I mean?
like one of my other buddies, he's got a lot of covered calls that he had on like 12 and 17. Like he's just wanting them to take him out because like he just doesn't like not that he doesn't want the to own it, but it's just like take me out. Like I like just take my shares, give me my money. Like that's how he's looking at it because what he wants to be able to do is just buy it all back on a pullback and do it again. So in any case, like right now, just like the pattern, it's if I go and zoom out to the weekly, like these moving averages are starting to play the catch up game. You can see here, like when we had whatever spike it was down the other week, when it was like the 480 level, right? Like everyone like got freaked out one day, and like it was like 480 when I was at like T-ball. I think you got some when it was like 480, right? And then like the next day, it's like okay, kind of back to normal. Like obviously, there's institutions, buying it too, right? We can see that from all the recent filings. So they're trading it. There's just a lot of volume. Like each week, like right now, like 700 million shares last
Yeah,
week.
it's crazy. I mean,
Nuts.
the dark pool's loaded, and everything's just crazy volume in
It's
it.
nuts. Like I was looking at like highest volume stocks in the market. Like we're like number 3 or 4, and like maybe Nvidia was like number 1, and like I think Pfizer was up there. Maybe they had news or something. Like
Yeah, from
just
Friday
all
alone, just on Friday, we was the 10th highest trading stock, and that was not just on Friday alone.
yeah.
Yeah, it's
On the
crazy.
month, I mean we're like
Oh, yeah,
1.87 billion shares, and there's still what like 7 or 8 days left to go. Like it's just a lot of volume. So when I look at it in the bigger picture, I see this cup and handle kind of forming. I suspect that like we'll probably see this move back to like the 8 or 9 to 10 level, and then probably get maybe a little bit more consolidation before we start to see like another leg higher. The other thing is just like news and events that are coming up. Like we know that they still have to get the blue UAS status. We know that
mhm.
there's like all this railroad stuff now hitting through, and then every drone order that goes into their backlog, or like the whole like World Cup, the Department of Homeland Security stuff, they're going to be announcing the awards here pretty soon as well. Um, if I look at let's say Red Cat on the same thing, it's just a totally different view.
Just a quick one, Five, before you jump onto Aircat.
Yeah.
Someone said, interested to hear M5's thoughts on UMAC plus Ondas coalition strategy and plays in SPAI, LPTH, and coping.
Yeah. I think it's good for the sector. I think, UMAC's in a very fortunate position to where um, they've got headline awareness because you've got Donald Trump Jr., who's like one of their advisors. The
They
interesting
got a
thing
big
is,
contract just recently, didn't they?
what's up?
UMAC got a big contract recently, didn't they? I remember reading something.
Yeah, they did. I mean, it's like the thing that's interesting is like that wire maybe hit like a week or two prior to like everyone making like the whole thing aware of itself. Like it was already out there in the open, and then people just started circulating it. Like if I go to the UMAC chart, um, like they have a gap here, and this is like from the Donald Trump news cycle. So like right here, like 680. Like if it gets to like 680, probably see a lot of crazy volume. But like it was trading at like a dollar, 50 for a while. They spun out from Red Cat, and then on the way up, obviously a lot of retail people buying it because of the association with Donald Trump Jr. And then like this line here has been kind of the key support line. And like for a little bit, it's below. A lot of things have come down just in the past couple weeks, obviously, but they also have an ATM. I mean, Allen has been selling shares. I want to say he raised like, I don't know if it was like 60 or 70 million. It's in their filing um, for when they announced their results, but like he was able to raise like another chunk of money just using the ATM as opposed to doing a direct like a direct offering with like a like a 10-15% discount to the institutions. So I think it's interesting. I think it's a good approach for them to take, being able to go to market like that and invest in companies in the ecosystem, because otherwise a lot of these companies probably nobody would know about. Um, so I think it's a good thing. Like if they hold those shares, they all got registration rights on those shares, so they could like sell them, down the road if there's another big offering or something, or any of those companies do a raise. I've got all those names on my list too. But ultimately, like like Lightpath, I think with the whole germanium thing going on, there's the laser, not lasers, but the optical items, cameras, sensors. Like SPI has the landmine detection. I know like Red Cat just said, hey, we're putting that in the drones as well. Um, Copen, they have, I want to say like visual lens technology. So
Coping
like,
looks really good. I did a lot of DD into coping, and they look really strong. Their biggest worries for me was their margins. If they start missing deadlines, the margins will feel it.
yeah. There's other names that I have in here too, like Elsight. They're actually a supplier, on a lot of the chips. They're also, I think, on the Australian exchange. Nvidia I have in here just because of like all the AI stuff. This one I don't really even check on. I just know it's there. This is another one that people make a big deal out of, but they have a convertible note. It's probably not even viable. It's like ocean power technology. And then Palantir. I mean, Palantir was 207. Now it's 154. So just a lot of pressure, just with the headlines of what's going on. Definitely, probably like overextended itself a little bit, and probably just needs to come back down a little. But yeah, I could pull it up on other charts. Drone Shield, this one's been through a shit show and a half. I mean, there's no easy way around it. I mean, it went all the way up. Um, it's funny because Eric told me about it when it was like here, and I looked at it and I saw how many shares they had outstanding. I'm like, I don't know. It just seems like it's been on the up and up, and like then it just kept going up. I'm like, what is it that these guys do that's any different than anyone else? And yeah, insiders unloaded. CEO in the U.S. left, and then now the Australian exchange is investigating them. So um, yeah, so let me get to the Ondas
Yeah.
chart. So if I go here, um, like this one doesn't have as many lines on it. There's times where I'll look at it just to see like, okay, on the daily, it looks like it's starting to base a little bit. We also have a TTM squeeze indicator on. So right now the bands are getting tight. Upper band is 778, lower band of 507. I would think that this red line continues to be like a support mechanism, like this 588 level on the daily. And then what did I say the upper band was? 778. Like right now the bands are just starting to collapse on each other, and you can see it even looking at the 1 hour. The 1 hour is an interesting view because there's this boxed trade that's showing up. So like high of this like $788 level, the low here of like this 6. So you just see a lot of like up down all around, and then eventually the bands are just starting to collapse on each other, and now it's starting to ride up on the upper band, and there's this volume gap between like 690 whatever and like 730, and you could just see like it collapsed down, got accumulated up, brought back up, collapsed down, getting brought back up. So some of it may have been the institutional trades going through, right? Like what was it? Was it Jane Street that just filed now that they've got like
Yeah, I
6%?
believe so.
Yeah, like if someone wants to buy like 10 million shares, like someone has to sell 10 million shares. Like they're not just buying it up. Chances are good that someone's going to give them a volume discount, and they'll buy on the way down, and then just continue to scale in as someone may be scaling out. If I think about like just what it does and how this thing trades, it's a very tight range just throughout the day. There's just so much volume hitting it. But I can usually get a sense of like, oh, what's like a likely level of resistance right now with the option chain being the way it is. Like with weekly expiries, there's a lot of puts and calls getting traded. Like someone can get the price down just by buying cheap puts, much the same way someone can get the price up by buying cheap calls. Um, it's a matter of whether or not it hits that anybody knows. Like it's it's like the powers of the market maker at a whim. Um, but yeah, like I'm usually watching like a 4 hour chart of it, and like even here, it's just building a very large structure. Like a lot of institutional trades on those 9,000 share blocks were happening between like 590 and like 630, 640 maybe. um and you could just see like out of nowhere like the volume just picked up like crazy. So like my guess is like this 4 hour RSI, you're going to see this start to cross back over, make a move upwards, like with the hope of it trying to make like a sustained move and then stay elevated above the top. Even right now you can see like this is starting to round up on the yellow, and like the expectation would be like as that happens it should act like a support mechanism for the stock based on how much volume and volatility is there. Plus now with the daily TTM squeeze, like you're just going to see people sitting on the bid, like not individuals per se but institutions sitting on the bid because they would expect an upward move as opposed to like a downward move, because the downward moves for the most part have been rejected. Like, yeah, there's resistance, but like it's probably there because someone's not done accumulating or they're buying more. Like once they're done buying, maybe they let the wall down, you know.
And I think once
Eventually,
like
like the
I
short
think once
interest is so high too. Like, you know, it explains why the stock did what it did. If the hedges or whatever, the warrants, if the warrants were getting sold against on the shares like in a synthetic model, like, yeah, it's like 100 million shares sold short so someone can buy, and then, like, you know, the covering now can happen that they can deliver on those shares with the share count authorization getting approved.
that's what I was going to about to touch on next. About to say the short interest is growing a lot, so obviously naturally as the share price tries to go up, that's going to start coming down as well.
Yeah, like I think in all honesty, like people get um people get enamored with the short interest because of like the potential for the squeeze. And like, yeah, that can happen, but at the same time, like these are like the most skilled institutions in the world, and if they're selling it as a short, it's I think it's like professional transactions where, like, yep, someone has to sell stock to fill the demand for the buyers, which like the Jane Streets of the world, like they got to buy 10 million shares from somebody. Like, long story short, I view it as the shares are sold based against the shares that would be accounted for with the warrant against the $20 strike. So no matter what, they have an exit door. So when the roof is on fire, they can exit at 20 no matter what. They
Mm-hmm.
could be covering all in between here and on the way back up and still end up positive in the green, and not get, like, yeah, they could get squeezed out, but like they're not going to lose money. Like they probably already made like 20 times over whatever they paid or whatever they need to pay to turn a profit. And just the volatility that we're seeing, like, you know, when stock moves like 15% in a day, like, yeah, people are making money and then they buy it all back and then they make more money. Um, like it's not rocket science. Like me, I haven't really been selling anything. Like I've been trying to get value buying like sporadically. Like I bought like call options for 10 cents. I sold those call options for 20 cents. Like, hey, I made 100% too. Like it's not a bad thing. Um, but like if everybody starts piling in and someone like goes out and buys 20 million shares out of nowhere, like, yeah, someone could get caught in the wrong direction, you know. And that could be bad for the institution that is doing the short sales. But I'm just of the opinion that like they're very sophisticated, they have algorithms, they have hedges, like they could buy call options to make sure that they don't get squeezed. Because ultimately it's just about securing the inventory. And like my biggest thing is if those shares stay out there on the short side, and they don't get like delivered, then they just start showing up as the failure to deliver with the SEC, which I don't think is a good thing for anybody. So like there's incentive for them to try to cover some of that. So yeah, let me go to Red Cat real quick.
Yeah.
So Red Cat is an interesting one.
So before you get into this, I know you've been having some fun on a stock twits with the Arc with the Red
Everybody,
Cat fans, didn't you?
Kitty Cat Crew doesn't like me right now. So I made a lot of money in Red Cat. Um, if I tell you the story on this, like it's kind of like long winded, but it's important because it'll help paint the picture here. Let me go to Red Cat.
Because you was in Red Cat before Ondas, wasn't you? Is that correct? Or
It's funny. I sold a lot of Go-Go, and then I plowed it into Red Cat, and then I sold out of Red Cat and plowed that into Ondas.
yeah, I know we've touched base on that a little bit before, haven't we? So
I gotta find it. Where's my drones? All right. So Red Cat. Red Cat for a while was like a penny stock. Okay. It was all the way down here in no man's land. And then they were in the running for the short range reconnaissance tranche two. And like this is where I was starting to buy once it started getting into and over this 200-day moving average level. I think this is the 200-day. I could be wrong. Yeah, 200-day. Like once it gets over a 200-day moving average, there's something going on. And this is back in 2024, like heading into like the annual Army meeting, everyone was of the opinion that there was going to be this award announcement, and like it didn't happen. So everyone got really bullish right around September, October, and they pumped it up, and it got dumped back down. And then I started buying more and more of it. And then like stock just went crazy because right here, they made the announcement that they had been selected as the winner of the short range reconnaissance program. They held this whole town hall, yada yada yada, and like, yeah, there's a big ass fucking gap right there. Like you can drive an 18-wheeler through it. Like you can't miss that, right? At the same time, they started doing more and more of these convertible notes, and I just kept calling out the make whole numbers, and then every day, like, what do you know, like it just kept getting taken out on the make whole, and then like 2 weeks later, they would do another convertible note. So Jeff was just issuing shares to Lynn like a motherfucker because like they just kept selling those shares into the demand. So it was just this giant like washing machine or dryer machine full with $100 bills. It's just money in, money out. Lynn was making money. Red Cat was raising money, getting the valuation up, whatever. And then like here, like yeah, like around December it topped out, and then it went back down, and then probably something happened. I don't even remember what it was, but like stock got pumped up. And then all the insiders dumped. And then Mattis left. Like whatever it was, like yeah, Mattis left, Leah left, like whatever it was.
Were they like key members and stuff?
Yeah, like every one of these insiders was leaving and dumping, and then like it just didn't make much sense. And I think like from that point on, it's like okay, show's over, and like stock goes back down to like 5. And some of this is also because the note holder is exchanging the principal for cash, and then they're also like renegotiating the exchange rates or the warrant strike prices. Like some of these terms are just complete dog shit, and it's only really to make sure that the note holder wins all the time. They're never going to lose. So cycle through like no news, no nothing, no new contracts, and then you get to like the drone dominance day, and it's just like boom, gaps up again, right? And it's like okay, that's cool. Like doesn't really mean dick because you haven't really won anything, but okay, if you guys want to pump the stock, Lynn's just going to liquidate yet again, and it's exactly what they did. The note holder, they continued to exercise the warrants. The warrants are like against like a $4, or no, the warrants had like a $6.72 strike. So like, yeah, they're paying 672. They're selling for 16. Like, who wouldn't take that deal? Like for the entire month, like it's just this downward trend. Like it lost this moving average. It's getting close to this moving average. Now, do I think it can go down to here? Like, hey, anything's possible, but probably not likely.
Do
But
you
the
still
key
have your
thing,
put? Have you still got your puts live on these as well?
my puts were doing really good. I still have some for December 19th on the monthly. I have $6 puts, and I think I have like 5s and 4s. They're the 6s are definitely. I'm in the profit on the 6s. Like if I close them right now, I'm not losing money. But I'm of the opinion that like I don't think there's much that they have to announce. If they do, so be it. I'm already at like max like loss potential. Like I'm not gonna lose any more than whatever I put in. Like I'm not shorting the comment. It's just having a put option, right? And the reason being is like if I go and start looking at the regression channels, okay, like this is where shit gets real. All these guys on that message board, like they're nothing but a bunch of know-it-alls and pumpers. And what they fail to realize is the computers and the algos are going to just control this thing and just keep fucking with them. So I have like a 1
the
hour.
message board on that stock twit is crazy anyway.
Oh, it's an echo chamber. I've probably gotten blocked by everyone because I'm like right in one way or another. They don't want to hear it. They don't want to see it. But at the same time, I still do post some good due diligence. So it's like, hey, if you block me and I do buy like 100,000 shares, that's your problem. You know, because I can easily turn bullish on a dime. Like I'm long-term bullish the company, but like short-term, not so much. And I'll show you why.
Yeah.
So this daily chart, like I don't want to think about it too much. I don't really want to think about the weekly, but if I look at the 4 hour, that's where most of my focus has been, because what I see here is just this 4 hour regression channel continuing to bite at it. And like, I think about all these stocks and like personalities, and right now this one, like it's like, yeah, the girl was hot and now she's getting kicked to the curb. Like Wall Street doesn't really know what to think about it because they totally screwed up on their earnings. They missed they missed about everything. Like I don't if you haven't listened to the call, you know, you could read the transcript. They just missed. And I want to say their guide was like originally like 120 to 180 for the year, and now they're just going to come up with like 37 million revenue for the year. So like nowhere near what Jeff, the CEO, had originally put out. So it just calls into question the credibility of the CEO. Now, is Jeff a bad guy? Probably not. But like, should he be running this company and putting out bogus guides and not updating the street? Yeah, that would be nice. He's probably opened himself up to like more scrutiny. There could be lawsuits. Like there could be any number of things that happen. But this whole time, you know, you have the note holder on the first of the month. They exchange like 1.5 million or 1.6 million of principal. They get shares. They dump that shit every first of the month. And then the entire month of October, they were doing the warrants. So just all this downward pressure. There was a point in time, like I ran just the numbers like top to bottom on the weeklies. Like each week it was losing $3, which is nuts. Like there's just nobody buying it. Either that or they're just sitting and being patient because the rest of the market's in this drawdown. But this 4 hour trend, like, yeah, if it's getting pumped, it's just getting dumped. And then it would like go down, bottom tick against the band, and then get pumped back up. And then what do you know? Fade. You know, faded through. This was, I think, earnings. Like it dropped all the way down to
just a quick one. I think your mic's crackling. I'm not sure if it's yours or.
Oh, are you able to hear me still?
Yeah, it's just crackling a little bit in the background. I'm not sure why. It hasn't been doing that. It's only just started doing it.
All right, let me get a little closer to the mic. Is that better?
It seems like it's in the background. I'm not sure. It's like crackling in the background of the audio, not the actual sound yourself.
There's nothing that's making noise behind me.
It's like an interference coming through it, and that's weird.
Let me try one thing here. Hold on.
Yeah, it's definitely coming through your mic. It's someone put unplug it. Nah, it's still doing it. Someone said unplug it and plug it back in.
You want me to try signing out and signing back in?
Yeah, can do. If you want to jump off and then jump back in and see if that changed it.
All right.
Is there a phone or anything nearby or anything?
Give me a second.
He'll jump back in in a sec. It hasn't been doing that for long, has it? I hope you're all enjoying this. Enjoying the stream anyway. Obviously, he's dropping a lot of wisdom, dropping a lot of good stuff. I hope everyone's enjoying it. So I know I'm learning a lot. A lot to learn in it when there's a lot going on. So we'll see if we'll get him back in. He's got the login anyway. Let's see what he's saying. So in the meantime, we're just waiting for him to come back in. What's everybody's views on so far? What they've seen? Is there anything else that people want to ask or anything like that when he comes back in? So he's just joining back in there. So nah, it's still really bad. Can't even hear you now if you're talking, Clive. You message him. It's been perfect for ages as well, hasn't it? He's just jumped back out now. So, but yeah, to Skype skill. Oh, Ben, that's you. Ben with his madness of a name. That's crazy. Let's have a look over here. It's just a book his market. Yeah, he probably tried that. I'm not sure though. We'll go find out. He'll be back in a sec. Yeah, he's just joining back in that.
Can y'all hear me?
Yeah, that's loads better. You're back in the room.
All right, so I'm on my phone, not on my computer.
Okay.
So, like, getting back to the whole story, like,
you just have to share your. Do you want to share your screen again? Sorry, Fo.
Oh yeah, let me do that.
I don't know where that came from. It was perfectly fine for ages.
Yeah, let me get my desktop pulled back up. I should be able to share the screen and have that at the same time.
Technical issues when it happens.
That's all right.
Let's click that to the stream. You might need to connect your mic through your screen sharing and then I'll mute it. So then it's just coming through your phone. Because the sound device not connected at the bottom.
I don't even know if.
Hold on, something's happening. There we go. There you go.
Yeah, I don't think my Mac even has a mic, to be honest.
Oh, happy days. Right, there you go. You're back in the room, mate. You're all good.
All right. So this whole thing is like a regression channel. And it's basically like every time it goes to the top, it's going to go to the bottom. And on earnings, they missed. And like, I just viewed this as like one really long, extended dead cat bounce. No pun. But like this red line here is just keep on coming down. And right now, it's like another red line as a regression. Now, can it make a run back up to like the top of the regression channel? Yeah, but if it does, like I think it's just going to get slammed back down because there's nothing yet that's like changing the trajectory of this regression channel. And even here, like if I just look at the basic RSI, every time the RSI bottoms out, the stock, capitulates. It may come back up and then it gets retested and then, it capitulated again. So like here, it's trying to show some signs of life. But if I go out to, let's say, like the daily, like it's getting down towards the bottom of like oversold. I still think it has another gap that it wants to fill. Oh, let me go here. Yeah, so when I look at it on a bigger lens, like a while ago, I told them it's like, yep, there's this gap here, all gaps get filled. And like nobody wanted to believe me, lo and behold, that gap got filled. And there's the gap all the way back from here, which is when they won the Army award announcement, which like technically, like, could it fill? Yeah, I think it wants to. Might not happen like right now, but if I go to the weekly and I look at the RSI trend on the weekly, like this thing is getting down there. Like if the weekly capitulates, it could go down even further. And then the monthly RSI is like if it breaks 50, it should definitely fill. Like there's more downside pressure, I think, on the monthly, knowing that like you got like tax selling that's going to occur. Probably not going to have any more contract awards announced unless the government does something here near term. The National Defense Authorization, I think, is going to clear through a House vote like the first week of December. So, like, yeah, anything's possible. But like
right now I just don't see that much buying going on. Like even the other week when there was like, the update that like, oh, the army and the military, they're buying like 2 million drones, like the stock got pumped up and it's just dumped since. And it's probably the note holder taking advantage of that.
And I know while you're touching on gaps as well, what's your view on that? Because I know a lot of traders as well have that mindset that if there's a gap, it normally tends to revisit, doesn't it?
Yeah. So yeah, one of the guys who the one guy who originally told me to join Twitter, this is years ago, like he always told me it's like all gaps get filled. Like, and he's an institutional guy. It's like all gaps get filled, like whether it's that same day or just over time, like, the gap, all gaps get filled. So like even on Ondas, anytime there's like a giant move up, like the first inclination is, for it to come back to reality so that there isn't a gap left to fill because all gaps are going to need to get filled. And like, I want to say, um, like, yeah, I'm for the most part, I'm like in agreement with that. If I go back to Ondas and I look at their daily, I think there might be a gap somewhere that maybe hasn't filled. Like, I don't know if it's in like the 4 level. It's honestly not something I think about that much because
There
the
is, yeah, there is a gap. I
offerings
think
that they
it's
do.
475, I think, or something. I had it at, I'll try and find it myself. I know there was definitely a gap down there. I had it set up on my
Like,
trading
where is
view.
it? Like right here, like this little thing. Like, come on, like based on the offerings that they did, everything that's been consummated from August until now, and like the current state of affairs. I don't know.
Yeah,
I mean, maybe,
the gap I had it at was 451 to 453. Yeah, tiny gap.
yeah, like maybe like is it worth it? Like, does somebody really want to try to fill that? Like, there's this stupid person on Twitter that keeps on telling me, "Oh, it's gonna go to 165." I'm like, yeah, because that's exactly what the note holder wants you to think. Like just stupid people that put out stupid levels based on charts. Like, I get it, but they don't understand the rest of the dynamics around it.
Yeah,
Um,
because I mean, there's a tiny gap at 123 to 126 as well. But again, like you say, it's such a stupidly small gap. I don't see it going there either.
but like they did an offering like around those levels. Maybe it was that June, like someone bought the fucking shit out of that, like I don't think it's gonna go back there.
Nah, me
It'd be
either.
stupid for people to just look at a chart and be like, oh, there's a gap. It's like, well, if I zoom out like here, um, I just think like right here, like this 820 something level, like it's gonna start to get some traction. The other thing is on the monthly, like I'm a big believer that when the monthly or anytime the RSI gets lit up, when I say lit up, like up over 70, what I find is like you just see the algo step in and there's just like a flurry of buying, like almost like the stock is like flowering, like it just explodes for whatever reason. Maybe it's like the algos trying to entice more people to buy the top so that way they can sell into it. I don't know,
And
but
did that
right
happen around
now,
11? Do you know? When
yeah.
it was around 11? Yeah.
Well, even here on the weekly RSI was like 90.
Hmm.
Like, and then it crossed down. Okay, but eventually this RSI is going to get cranked back up, and the monthly RSI was up to 75. Right now it's at 68. So if the monthly gets back over 70, like I think like there's a good chance that we see the move continue back up. Um, at the same time, there's a monthly TTM squeeze indicator, so the bands are tight on it. Like if I go to the monthly on this, if it even has the bands, Let me go to a monthly here, see what it shows. Like there's just something going on where the trading range is getting tighter. Even here you can see like this monthly level found support against like 636, this line here. If I go back though, the 3-month is even a crazier thing to look at because that RSI, like I want to say if it moves over 50, you know, it's typically like a shove scenario. So like on a quarterly basis, like it's barely registering on the moving average, but like here it got like to like 50, which is a good sign. Like if I compare that to Nvidia, like yeah, people are just loading up on Nvidia, and ever since it's crossed over 50, it's just been like buy mode. Like every time. Like here's a monthly, like over 50, straight buying. Like if there's a little bit of a correction, well, it just gets bought back up. So yeah, I mean, like between Red Cat and Ondas, like Ondas right now, there's still, you know, monthly TTM Squeeze that's firing. The weekly, or I should say the daily, has the TTM Squeeze firing on it. And we haven't seen that since March and May. So as this thing gets tighter, you probably see you probably just see some of the price action contract a little bit, and then it builds for a breakout, and like that breakout could be anything, right? Anything that's going to send volume higher than what we already have. Like I'm thinking it's like the blue UAS, and then there's the whole railroad thing.
I was
That
just
whole
about to say,
railroad thing.
as soon as Blue UAS gets announced, which is, let's face it, I know someone got announced just about a week ago, so I think we're not going to be far behind. So let's say in the next month that probably gets announced. That's going to be a catalyst that's going to send it through the roof anyway.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, any one of those things is just a milestone activity that, like, one less thing to worry about, and there's probably like some sort of discount factored into the stock price. Where once they achieve that, you know, the discount factor gets removed. There was one time I was reading a JP Morgan research note on Joby, and like there's such a long lead time for them to be like commercially in service, like that each regulatory approval was like discounted like a 10 to 15% rate against what they thought the full value should be, and that's how they arrived at like their current price. It's like so many X milestones with a discount applied to each milestone. Like as those milestones clear, you should see appreciation in the price, because then the value story can then, you know, be, you know, like unlocked or whatever you want to call it.
Got a
So
quick question here for you as well, Five, from one of the lads that's put something in here. He says currently AI is it AI everything, then it's drones. What's your next prediction on the next big thing? Mine personally is data centers and obviously energy, because energy is going to be the next thing. But where's the future look for you after drones when you get
I
to
don't
where you
know. I don't know yet. I mean, this FIP is interesting because they've got railroad and they've got the power plant, and if they sell off the power plant, it could be a good move. I mean, right now, like this is, I think it's probably bottomed out. Like I still need to buy some myself. Like my family's been buying it. um my wife's aunt, like lo and behold, the same one, like she trades a lot more active on stuff than I do, and she doesn't care about whatever things are in the news. Like she made a comment to me, it's like, oh, Phipps gonna surpass Hondas. I'm like, well, what makes you think that? Like, come on. Like she's just looking at the stock price, so I'm just like, yeah, I don't think so. Like it's like, if that's the case, then we got bigger problems at hand.
What's your
um
views on stuff like Hive and stuff, the Bitcoin miners, stuff like that?
Um, well, there's one here.
BMNR.
This-
That's so. This one's so BMNR is more obviously Ethereum, isn't it, and stuff like that. But
yeah, but like if you look at, let me
I'm
put them all
interested to
together
find your
here.
thoughts on BMNR, though. I know a few of the lads are invested in BMNR, so it'd be nice to see.
All right. Well, you guys will appreciate this. So BMNR and then IonQ, and I want to say Ondas. I'm not sure of it. I'm speculating it, but these two all got the same kind of deal where they got a huge investment at a premium tied to like these warrants that are like higher up, just like Ondas did. So IonQ and BMNR, they both got money from Heights. Heights rolls up to Susquehanna. So like they got a fuck ton of money and they probably don't want people to know what they're doing with it. But in my opinion, they bought in, they raised a bunch of money, and then they shorted the common against the warrants, much like the same move that we saw with Ondas. This, I think, is probably more trading in sympathy with some of the crypto stuff. But what is it, Tom Lee, that one strategist guy? Is it I forget which fund
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, Tom Lee owns a
yeah,
lot of it.
he's involved in this now. But like in all honesty, they had a huge move up, and then like whatever raise they did, um, like I think same scenario, like healthy short selling by the institution that took the deal against the warrants, and then now it's likely in like this accumulation trading zone, but it's definitely at or near oversold. And if you look at Ondas compared to just like IonQ, um, very similar pattern, very similar, like without even looking at the price, just looking at the candles, you can kind of see like they're almost trading together against the same algo, so to speak. So I'm of the opinion that it's the same fund. And the interesting thing is Heights was the original convertible note owner. So like that whole time when the stock like did this thing, and like even like this thing here, like Heights was giving Ondas money. They got a fuck ton of shares, and they sold the shares out, raised more money, gave Eric money, sold the shares out. It's just like how many more times were they going to keep raising money through notes? And then Eric told them that okay, no more converts for you. And then like they just started getting rid of the rest of their position, and then I'm of the opinion, like, if Eric is saying they got approached by someone who just randomly wants to give them like what $400 million on a Sunday, like only so many people that would be willing to do that. And it's probably someone that's done business with him in the past. So I'm thinking it's the same firm.
Yeah, which would make sense. So
They
is
move
other
weight.
than Ondas,
That's what they do. They move a lot of weight. Like they move weight, they don't lose. Like they always make money, it seems. So
and it makes sense though, because I mean, like the warrants at 20 was a big eye opener for me because no one's taking them on if they don't expect it to go there. So, and then what was it? Expiry dates of 7 years. So
yeah, I mean they've got time. I mean, let's face it though, like if they get a big contract, the stock could go to like I don't know. Let's just say the stock goes to 12 or 13. Like you're going to see other people and firms buy in cuz like a new like the previous resistance would become a support. So maybe like the next level of support would be in this range up here, like 10 to 12, right? Eventually that's going to get tightened up and they're going to keep on, announcing deals, announcing contracts. We saw the whole railroad thing. Like
yeah,
the railroad,
people don't
the
even think about that.
railroads haven't even hit yet.
Yeah,
So if the rail orders start coming through, you probably see more upward movement on the stock price. I'm hoping that they eventually just split it out and spin it off, and then like figure if they do that, if you own the stock, you basically get stock in the new company like a special dividend. Like someone if there's people that are shorting the stock, they would need to be able to pay that out, so to speak, and like deliver on that.
did
But
you trim any of your position when it got to the 11 range, or did you just carry on holding all your shares and then accumulated even more on the way down?
the stuff that I was doing, it's not like selling because I want to trim it. Like I bought that car for my wife, right? And the
Yeah,
only way I was able to do
yeah.
that was like closing out some of the call options that I had. So I had to like sell some stock to like buy back the call options. And then like I wound up buying back the stock when I wrote more call options. So like I rolled my calls from the 12 strike to the 17 strike, but I've still got like personally 620,000 shares. My brother, when we were in London, he was buying all the way down. He was still buying just the other day.
How's your brother's sentiment on it now? How's his mindset got?
Every day is a new day for him. My father, he's got 920,000 shares and he hasn't done anything. So he's passive. He
And
keeps
do you all have the
asking
same
me.
type of price target?
I told my dad that he doesn't need to worry about selling it because I'll inherit it all and I'll just figure it out for him at that point. I told no. So getting back to it, like let's say they get a big contract or something happens with the rails, or if like like the administration takes a position like they did with all these rare earth mining, like the stock could go to 30, the stock could go to 40. I mean, the stock could go wherever the stock wants to go if people think there's like a short squeeze going on. But keep in mind, like those warrant holders have the exit door at 20. So even if the stock goes to 40, I mean, they're covered at 20. Like
Exactly.
they're still in the money. Like it doesn't
And
matter.
that's what most people don't understand as well. The warrants are for 20. That doesn't mean, in their eyes, that means they don't want it to get to 20. They see it going well past that.
Yeah, long term, I think they're of the opinion that they want the stock to go higher, and when the stock is at a point where they're going to exercise the warrants, I mean, Eric will get another what, like 1.5 billion. So hopefully, like it's not like immediate. I mean, the sooner the better, but like I think personally, like even if the stock goes up like 10 cents a day for the rest of the year, like that's still what, like at least like a $2-3 move back to where it should be. Like I don't need to see it move $2 a day. Like I'm okay
Yeah,
with
no.
it just slow grinds itself.
And I think people expect that. That's the problem. Like, obviously, I do my investing on trading 2-on-2, and it's an absolute cesspit on there. And people expect it to go from 8 to 80 in a day, and it just doesn't work like that.
Yeah, if it does, all it's going to do is it's going to trigger the RSI to sell it all, and then you get like this kind of move where it's like up, down, up, down, up, down. Like these institutions that piled in like at 6% or 5% ownerships, I think they'd like to see it go up, but they'll still trade it too. Like next logical move, like just thinking through these candles here, like I don't know, like at least over 7, hopefully to like 7 something. But like this boxed trade, like it's telling you like, hey, this is the bottom, this is the top. If anybody wants to like trade this thing, you could turn it around all day long between 6 and 8 and make $2 spread. I'm just personally not doing that. It's not anything like I feel like I have to do. Like this will keep doing what it's supposed to do just based on the pattern. And when like the selling exhaustion kicks in and the buying continues to do whatever, like it'll just act like another stock, like it should. Like you shouldn't have that much volatility going through it day by day, unless somebody wants it to be that volatile. And sometimes it's okay to have the volatility, but like just knowing how it is, like not everybody can stomach that. Like my brother calls me every morning, we talk about it, he's like, why is it going down, what's going on? It's like, dude, just chill the fuck out, like relax, there's a million one things going on in the world. It's like, look at Bitcoin, look at the rest of the market. Like he is solely focused on like one name at a time, that's all he wants to focus on. And it's like, well, the rest of the market's ripping. It's like, why are we red? It's like, what fucking difference does it make? Like it could be any number of reasons. Like who cares? And his cost basis is like $1. I don't know. He's got at least like 400 or 500,000 shares right now.
That's what I mean. So, like I say, and I mean, I think the new airport deal as well. I mean, I know you're in close contact with Eric and Sam as well. Obviously, the new airport deal was a very big airport. That's as much as I know, but I think it's a domino effect from there with that as well, because especially
Oh
everything
yeah.
happening in Europe.
I mean, like when I think about just the total addressable market, like, okay, how many major airports are there? And if each one is going to be, let's say, like $3 to $8 million, okay, let's say you get 100 of those. Okay, that's good. Then how many ports are there? Like port authorities, you got like just in the U.S. you got like New York, you got Miami, you got like Tampa, you got all of like Houston and Galveston, LA. I mean, Port of LA just had a huge container fire like over the weekend. I don't even know. My brother told me about it. Apparently, it's something he saw. Um, yeah, you got ports. Then you got all the correctional facilities. Like, how many state prisons are there? How many federal prisons are there?
Then you've got
Then
data center build outs as well.
what's it? Data centers?
Yeah, because I mean, it's the same type of thing. You could, we was having this
Oh,
cable. You could have them around the data centers too.
yeah, I mean, you got power plants. How many power plants you got? Oil refineries. I think the railroad interchanges are another thing. I mean, any one of these sites that's considered critical infrastructure, they will have to have some form of protection because if they don't, they're a sitting target. And I don't
And this
like
is
this.
what a lot of people think with Ondas as well. They think it's a army drone stock, and it couldn't be any further from the truth. I
Mhm.
mean, obviously they've got that now with obviously the wasps and stuff like that, but it's not focused solely on needing government contracts. That's just an added bonus, sugar on the cake.
Yeah, I mean, you got like let's just think about the World Cup thing. Like they're
Yeah,
gonna
that's
give
huge.
out like
Yeah, that
250 or $500 million. I mean, the DHS, they've got like 1.5 billion in the RFP that they put out on Friday.
I seen
I
you share
know.
that. Yeah, we
Yeah,
just
like
sent.
Eric's had that. I mean, like they released the draft of it like a couple weeks ago, and I sent him the draft when I saw that come across. So like wouldn't be surprised if they already have their submission ready to go. And then the whole thing with the Centrix deal, like you got the best of both worlds. I mean, they did their demo day with like Commercial Drone Alliance. So like, yeah, whatever cities that thing is happening at, for the World Cup, like I don't even know where it is. I don't follow soccer as much as I probably should, but yeah, like it's a big deal. Like, and you got to figure like a city like New York, they're gonna submit for a grant, and I mean, yeah, they're just gonna get the money. Like, there's not much else they got to do other than just submit the request for the grant, and there's people that'll help them make those submissions to make sure they get the money. And if each city is getting like 15 to 20 million dollars, like however it gets split up, like even if we get like half of that, like that's good. Even if we get like, let's just say you get like $100 million just for the World Cup money. Um, World Cup's happening between now or like what's World Cup? Like June and July of next
Yeah,
year?
yeah, middle of 26, isn't it? Yeah. So I mean, it's a bit of a nightmare for us because every game's going to be like 1, 2 a.m. in the morning for us.
Yeah, but like it's a good thing for Ondas because all that shit needs to get bought now. All those people need to get trained on how to do it. And yeah, like it needs to get made and delivered. So let's say they get like contracts announced between like, I don't know, December, like originally it was supposed to be December 19th as the contract awards, but I think since they delayed the final RFP, maybe stuff gets announced like around New Year's or Christmas, or it gets announced like the first week of the new year. Like whatever it is, that shit needs to get delivered, it needs to get sold, revenue is going to get recognized, and then it's just going to count towards our backlog. And if Eric's putting out a guide of like, what do you say it is, like was it 110 at
But yeah,
least?
110, I think it was 100 to 110, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I'm willing to bet that a decent chunk of that is just on like a soft backlog number of some of that stuff, plus all the other international stuff that he's got in the hopper. You know,
I've got two questions here for you, Five. one of the guys obviously might have just joined. He says, when looking at the RSI, where do you want to see it at when expecting the price to go up? Bottom of the range, or are you looking for the above a certain number like 40 or 50? That's the first question.
Yeah. So when it bottoms out, usually you start to see people capitulate. So like I'll take like a 4 hour, like here, like the 4 hour bottomed out, stock capitulated a little bit, and that would have been like after hours one night. I want to say the other night when we were like probably all watching after they announced like the results of the vote, the stock had like another capitulation like down to here. And you could just see like it's based on the RSI. So like once you see the RSI cross over the moving averages, it's typically good. Anytime the RSI gets over 50 or 60, that's typically good. If I go back to the weekly, one of the charts that my buddy and I did originally on it was basically like this is a bunch of just lines. So ignore the yellow lines because it's just levels and patterns. But like much like you would have a chart on the share price, you could also chart the RSI to see, okay, where's the breaking point? And I want to say like when we were doing it was off of the weekly. So we had this pattern on the RSI where like this upper line here would have been like a resistance point, and then there was a trend line where it was like hugging this. So the first move up in January of this year, time is flying. So January, yeah, it broke through this RSI pattern, went back down, and then you can just see here, like if you expand it out a little bit, this trend line continued to kind of hold true. Well, I don't know that there's much point in extending this out. Like technically, like you could do that, but I also still see this trend line here, and like here it bounced off of that trend line. So like a resistance point previously is now also holding as a support, and like let's just say this weekly, if I add another trend line. Let me see if I can copy and paste it. I mean, like you could start to model it out like this too. But I would expect this RSI to start to move back up. Even like the daily, um, like once it starts moving over 50, 60 level, you start to see the algos pick up steam. And like even here, like this whole time it was like elevated higher and higher, and it's just a buy signal. Like anytime it moves up over 70, like yeah, usually it's like an overbought scenario, but like you still gotta account for like a weekly and you still gotta account for the monthly. So there's a lot of different ways it could be modeled. I would say like as long as it's holding these support lines, it should be okay. And there's just there's just a huge volume shelf that's been created by those institutions. Like I think it would be hard pressed to try to go back lower from some of these candles here. Like I don't even know what levels they are, so don't hold me to it. But like 610, 6 to 612, a lot of volume, all the way up to like 667, and we closed at like 674. It's nuts. And then the upper band is like 1025. So if someone's looking to try to sell some stock at the top, you could look at like the upper band on the weekly. You could look at the upper band on, I don't know if the upper band on the daily makes much sense because like the weekly is much higher and there's just so much volume kicking through it. And typically like institutions, they're more looking at like a weekly or a monthly candle just for positioning on size. And even here, like, yeah, it's kind of like, you know, what is it? Higher highs, higher lows, right? On the weekly. So this support line, like this candle, like these moving averages, they're going to keep moving up and they should act as support. And yeah, there's the TTM squeeze on the daily. So like just knowing that that's like you could get like 10 of these in a row, and then it just means like, you know, once it starts moving, typically if you haven't like researched TTM squeeze indicator, you know, there's a lot of videos out there. So I'll try to be quick, but like here in November, there was a lot of TTM indicators that were firing off. Usually, like let's say there's like 10 dots. If there's like 10 dots, then there's at least like 10 days behind it where, you know, you start to see the effect of the squeeze. And the same thing, let's say on like the weekly or the monthly, um, like here, there's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 months on the monthly with that indicator firing. So you would expect there to be at least 14 months of continued buying on the month. And we've only had 4 so far. And if you go to like, if I go to NVIDIA,
Look at that.
I mean, they don't even have it on there for the monthly. They don't even have it on there for any of them. Maybe like a Tesla would have it. Let me see. Tesla's got it on the 4 hour. And you could see like right now the bands are starting to collapse in on each other, right? So like between the top and the bottom band, you know, like the bottom band's like 388, tops around like 402. Yeah, I'm trying to think of another name that might have it. Let me look at SoFi. Okay, here's SoFi on a weekly.
So far, is a big held stock in the server as well, to be honest.
Yeah. So here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Let's just say it's 10. We'll look at the pattern after it. Now, did it go up and come back down? Yeah. Well, it's still not done. You know, like it's as long as this thing continues to show green, it means it's on the upside. And then when you see the tail start to come down, that's usually, you know, a signal that the squeeze, the TTM might be over. But here, even then, like the bottom band is 19, the upper band is like 31, right? Let me see. What would be another one? Let's see, Coinbase, like something volatile. I'm just gonna go through a bunch.
Something like BBAI or something. That's probably volatile.
Well, here's another one. Like you can see where like the TTM squeeze, like the TTM goes both ways. So it came out from being down, squeeze, and then well, yeah, now it's just getting let out because of Bitcoin. Big Bear AI, let me see. I got it down here somewhere.
Because that was another good one that was it's looking promising for the World Cup, but the financials are.
Let me see if Open Door has it. Open Door is I mean, I gotta watch what I say, but like it's a weird one.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, I know people trade a lot of stuff, so
Yeah, Open Doors a very manipulated one on the X, I see.
like in theory, you know, like it should hold like 460 something if it gets dragged down. You know, like I don't know. I mean, here, like it's literally on life support right now. Like if it doesn't hold this level, it'll go down to here.
Mhm.
Um Let me find. I mean, the crazy thing is when you start to see the TTM on the indexes too. I want to say on the IWM or maybe on the SPY, I was seeing it on one of the time frames. Let me see if I can find it. Yeah, like here, look at this setup on the IWM with the RSI crossover. So like, do we really think it's gonna keep going down, or should hold this level? Like the 2-hour had a TTM. Here's a 30-minute TTM. And you could just see like the bands got really, really tight, and then it rode the upper band up on that rally. My wife and kids just got home, by the way.
No worries, man. When you got to jump, let me know. But like I say, we'll probably call it soon anyway. There's another question here for you, Five. Says M5 knows a lot about the train comms vulnerabilities and potential for .16. Love to hear about where that's headed, in his opinion.
So, yeah, I mean, like right now, based on all the patent and the IP stuff, they have the .16. It all goes through the IEEE, and those guys meet like once a month. Hey, I'm on the phone. They meet like once a month, and with the head of train and end of train, there's like 3 incumbent companies that have all the technology. One of them Siemens, the other is Wabtec, and then there's another one called DPS, which is up in Minnesota, I think. But basically, these companies are going to have to replace all the units that go on those trains, and like based on the people that I've spoken to in the industry and everything that the company is saying, like those units go for like $5,000 a piece, and there's like 70,000 of them. So that's like $350 million of addressable landscape that they'll go after. I think like they'll get like Wabtec, where they'll enter into some sort of agreement with the Ondas to license the .16 technology from them, so that way they can own the hardware still, and like Ondas will probably get like a licensing fee for it. So they may not have to make all those equipment, which would be good. Like they could just sit back, monetize the IP through a royalty. And that's just the head of train and the train stuff, and that's the one that has the cyber sizer risk. The 220 megahertz, I mean, Amtrak for the Northeast Corridor, from what we saw in the regulatory filing, that should all be delivered this quarter. Like the trains are running. There's a lot of publications and press that Acela has put out with Amtrak for like the new trains. You've got 450 megahertz, which I think is more like GPS stuff, and then the 900 megahertz is more like critical safety stuff. So a lot of like inspection stuff that the trains go through, where it's like a lot of cameras and sensors. I think a lot of that should get rolled out in the near term, but it's all up to the railroads. Like the railroads need to place the orders, and they may just be waiting on a couple things, but like once Amtrak takes delivery, that'll be good. I mean, we'll get the revenue recognized on it. I think a lot of people don't even know that we have the rail segment. So like once it starts to hit,
Agreed.
it'll get more attention. And I don't think anything that Eric has in his guide for like next year probably accounts for it. Maybe he's just counting the drone revenue because he doesn't have like sufficient backlog or like full forecast into when it would hit. But like once he has a contract in hand, I think they would update the street, or at least put out an announcement like those railroads can order whatever they need. And like the thing with the Northeast Corridor is you got other freight railroads that run on that same area, so they would have to have like the interoperable system on the 220. Sad reality is all that equipment is outdated. Like everything is running on like 1980s beeper technology. And I've followed enough of like the licensing and the equipment approvals through the FCC, where there's not that many like replacement scenarios out there. And I want to say Ondas and Siemens have like exclusivity right now on the technology. So like once it once that exclusivity runs out, um, you'll see more stuff. So like I go to the IEEE website at least, a couple
You've just
times
got
a week.
everything ready. You're at the like you just
Yeah, I have it all bookmarked. So I can see exactly like, okay, like here's all the meeting minutes, everything is public. And like you could see our dude, Vishal, Ondas, like, yeah, like his notes from the meetings. Um, Not much, but I at least know that they're meeting. Like they were meeting in Bangkok, I think, on the last round for like 3 days straight, going through all these changes. MeteorCom is another one who makes the stuff. But yeah, like we've got a patent. He said we have the patent. I've seen the patent. I've looked at it, but like all these changes, everything that gets codified, they've already met. Like it's already chosen. It's just like fine tuning the stuff. And this is all shit. I don't even know what it means, right? Like it's another language. And like you basically need to be like an electrical engineer to understand what all the moving parts are. But um yeah, they're gonna keep packaging it up, getting new things through the committees. And then I mean like the biggest thing is like seeing that letter into the rail administration, that at least tells me it's like, okay, if Amtrak is submitting this for approval, once the Federal Rail Administration approves it, I mean, they should be in like it's probably already on the train. It just needs to be approved for like, service or whatever it is, to replace the old stuff. So I think it's a lot of moving parts, but it just takes a lot of time with railroads. And this is coming even from another guy who I met who's local to me here, and he said, yeah, the thing with these rails, like capital intensive stuff, it takes a very long time because as new stuff is getting put on, you still have the same shit running every day, and that doesn't stop. Like it usually happens in the middle of the night when traffic starts to die down, but like the train on the tracks isn't going to stop, just because they're doing some work or replacing stuff. Like the train keeps moving all the time. Like commuter rails don't stop. Like maybe overnight there's a break in between the schedules, but like freight trains just keep on running 24/7 in this country. So like anytime there's like a cutover, a switchover, it has to be like planned out, like quadruple redundancies in place. And it just takes a long time because of the regulatory approvals, the testing, the backup plans, just everything takes longer with the railroads. Like it's like, paving a highway, like and nothing happens like point click. Like it just takes longer, I guess. So
yeah, and this is what people like say don't really understand about Ondas when they're quite new to the stock. It's just like big octopus. There's just so many
yeah, like
arms.
even for like Siemens in India, like maybe they got that contract like 2 years ago. Like the fact that they're now just like starting to like deliver the radios, like that just means that the locomotives are like almost done being built, and like the radios like the last thing that goes in, like with all the other electronics and the digital stuff. So like getting all the wheels, getting all the bogies, getting all the power units, like all the metal and all, aluminum, whatever, like all that stuff needs to get sourced. Usually like the last thing to go in is all the electrical components, and then it's just plug and play with the wiring.
Yeah, like I say, I was only quite. I mean, I learn a lot more of the network from your side of things anyway, because you don't miss a beat on that network stuff. Yeah, so
The
I mean, how long?
thing the
How
thing
long have
with
you
the
been?
networks, like if you want to see real quick, I gotta find it. Where is it? Trying to find the FRA site that I have bookmarked. Like all these things are each location is licensed. Um and like basically you've got all the maps where this might be it. Yeah. It's nuts. So like everything up here in the Northeast, all these lines are the rail lines. Oh, it's beautiful. Like Amtrak is a bunch of this. But if you zoom out, I mean, these are all like the main class 1 lines. Like Chicago, they're already live. I don't know how much they've done in Dallas, but I would assume between like Dallas and Houston, they're working through that as well. Like, yeah, this is all public information. Like it's just thousands and thousands and thousands of miles of lines. And you can see like who's got what. Like this is all Amtrak lines that they operate on. And then there's other commuter rails. I haven't looked at this in a while, but there's a lot of data out there.
All
You
new
know,
to me.
like,
It's quite interesting. There's a lot to learn from it.
yeah, like if you just were to look at like how many class 1 freight railroads there are. Let's see. What's that passenger rail? Yeah, like
One of my guys just commented on it saying Europeans looking at this thinking, how the fuck do I get a train from Dallas to Denver by train?
yeah, yeah, like I would say like any of these things, you know, like the whole rail stuff is just nuts, right? Like I even try to look at stuff on the European Union tender site, like half the stuff's in another language, so I don't understand it. But
They make it that
anytime,
way though, so the
yeah,
average Joe
like
Dirt
this morning, like I was like just looking, it's like, oh, like what does Teal Jones have up its sleeve? And it's like, you know, it turns out, yeah, there's a filing like that was submitted on what, Friday. So I posted it to their board. You know, people can do with it what they will. I don't give a shit. Not my problem, you know. Yeah, like you wanna know where they're like working. Yeah, here it tells you. Like they have like all the maps and everything, you know, to tell you exactly what they're doing. And if you know what all this means, good for you. I don't. But I know like, yep, these are maps. This is in Utah. Here's their location in Utah where their office is. And then yeah, another area in Utah where they're like testing their product. Like, cool.
To be honest, you're a perfect example of what I expressed to my guys, because obviously I expressed to the guys in the Discord and across there that you'll go to work for the average person. I'll go to work 40, 50, 60 hours a week, whatever. And then obviously people will only put like 2 to 3 hours research into their stocks where they're putting the money. They've just worked 40, 50 hours. You're the perfect example that if you put in the work and look at all the small details, you're going to find everything.
Yeah. It's like, you know, when with all this stuff going into the FCC, like, yeah, here's like a letter that Ondas submitted. So like, you know, it talks about all the stuff that they're doing, right? There was another one that Siemens did as well, all on the same docket. So like anytime someone comments on the docket, it goes into public record. I want to say there was the one from Siemens. I gotta find it.
Hey, dude.
Yeah,
Hey, dude.
it's my youngest one.
Hey, dude, dad.
What's
Hey,
up?
dude, dad.
How was Orlando? Oh my God, you got okay.
From Hello Kitty.
Yeah,
Bye-bye.
yeah. Like when Siemens put in their letter, I mean, they're calling out Ondas by name, like shit, you know.
Yeah, it's huge, man.
So, yeah, there's a lot of stuff out there. Like charts are one thing. I try to focus more just on the stuff that I'm able to find too. Like charts, I just view as a tool. I mean, all the stuff that's on like institutional filings is always going to be helpful. I mean, there's another one. Like if you were to look at FinViz, that's another popular site.
I use that. Yeah, I got that one.
And it's basic.
Yeah,
Like their charts are kind of like automated too, and you can see like they've got certain trend lines. You know, like if we break over this trend line, you know, price probably keeps moving up. But like 750 is like the next moving average, and if I look at like, you know, the red cat of the world, it's like probably night and day. Like it's just slid down. You know, like it's lost the support on that line. It lost this support. It lost that support. So like going in with puts when I went in, it's like, could I have gone earlier? Sure. But like,
yeah.
I don't want to like always lose money either, you know, if I'm too early to it. But like, it's probably close to the bottom here. Maybe it has like another dollar and a half left in it. I don't know. So
No, agreed. Five, I know your family's home now, mate. So I'll let you do what you got to do. I'm going to jump
all
off as
right.
well.
It was a
Man, I
pleasure.
really appreciate you giving us your time, man, and looking into this. This has been fun, and I know a lot of people have learned a lot. And obviously, we communicate, so we can definitely do this again in the future.
Yeah. If I see anything that looks interesting, I'll keep you all in the loop. All right.
I appreciate your time, and I appreciate you, bro. Thank you very much for your time, man.
Yep. Bye bye.
Yeah, so everyone, obviously his family's home now, so we've got to let him do his thing because I know he'll carry on all night. I hope everybody learned something from that. I hope everybody took some valuable information and like I say, M5 is a really intelligent guy, and I really appreciate his time for that. He don't play around. He puts a lot of time into the effort of what he does. He was somebody that definitely pulled Ondas out of the hat before anybody else did. We used to use his new sources in our Discord, so the fact that we now get to have him in our Discord and I've become friends with the guy is absolutely fantastic. So, but I know he'll sit here for another 6 hours if you give him the time to. So, but yeah, hope everybody's enjoyed the stream. Nice 2.5 hour one for you this Sunday. Again, we'll be here again next Sunday. We do it every week. I'm going to try and get more people on to do TA. M5 will definitely be on more in the future. And like I say, we'll do more of the earnings calls, etc. with him. But yeah, thank you everybody for tuning in. I appreciate all the support. Don't forget to like the video and have a good evening. Thank you very much. Take it easy.